Chapter 645. As for why she was sincere, it was naturally because of Yihua's acting. If just now Yihua had directly expressed that he liked his sister-in-law, Qinya would definitely be unhappy. However, right now, Qinya felt that her husband didn't like Yu Tong. On one hand, Qinya was happy, on the other hand, Qinya was also worried about the issue of who her younger sister would belong to. In fact, just like what Baiji had said, Yu Tong's current condition was so good. If Yu Tong didn't have any feelings for Yu Tong, what would happen if she was cheated by a man? Thinking about the consequences of that, Qinya became even more worried. I might as well give it to Yihua. With this I can be more at ease. In the end, this was also a kind of habit. Qin Yutong had always been living together with everyone, and Qin Yutong had a kind of feeling that it wasn't a big deal to have her by herself. If Yihua were to know what his wife was thinking about, he would definitely agree to it. His sister-in-law is truly too good at making me feel comfortable. Hearing Qin Ye's words, Yihua didn't believe it from start to finish. You still dare to say that you won't set me up? Every single word that you said is filled with tricks. Qinya, we are husband and wife, can't you use less tricks and be more sincere? What I have decided will not change. Don't ever mention it again. Yihua snorted coldly, then swung his hand and walked away as if he was very angry, leaving behind his two wives who had a dumbfounded look on their faces. Donghuang Baiji seemed to have also been deceived by Yihua's acting skills. Seems like it won't work. Yihua doesn't seem to like Yu Tong, how is that possible? Donghuang Baiji said in astonishment. I don't think this should be the case. Yu Tong's appearance is absolutely beautiful, and she is not the slightest bit inferior to me and Qinya. Her figure is also very good, and yet Yihua actually doesn't like her. Was the sun not going to come out? Qinya was also confused. Yihua actually doesn't like Yu Tong, this doesn't make sense. Is it because we forced him too hard that Yihua no longer has any feelings towards women? Qinya asked curiously. This question caused Donghuang Baiji to frown. You don't have feelings for women? Doesn't that mean he doesn't have feelings for me? This was not a good thing. These few days Yihua went to sleep with the children and didn't sleep with us anymore. Donghuang Baiji said gravely. Now that I think about it, there is indeed a problem. Could it be that Yihua's sexual orientation changed? Originally, I was already worried about my little sister's matter, and now I have to worry about Yihua as well. Did he become stupid from holding it in? I'll go and see what Yu Tong says. Qinya felt that this was a big matter. I mustn't let Yihua suffocate to death. I and Baiji definitely won't be able to satisfy Yihua, not even for a few months. At that time, if Yihua were to be forced to go out and look for other women, it would be even more troublesome. If it really doesn't work, I can only let Yu Tong do it. A family member is always better than an outsider. At that time, if a woman were to suddenly appear and fight for favor with me, just thinking about it made Qinya's scalp go numb. Then I'll go with you. Donghuang Baiji seemed to have the same thoughts as Qinya. It's good for us to benefit our own people, but it's impossible for us to benefit outsiders. The two women directly rushed towards Qin Yutong's palace. Right now, Qin Yutong was currently bathing and changing her clothes, and she was humming a little tune and she was very happy. When he thought of his brother-in-law's joyful expression, he felt happy. It seemed that he was very powerful to be able to make his brother-in-law happy. La 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 la. Qin Yutong lied inside the wooden barrel and carefully wiped her body, giving her brother-in-law the most beautiful image of herself. Along with the sound of the door being pushed open, Qin Yutong's little face immediately became nervous. It seems like Big Sister and Big Sister Baiji came. Damn, brother-in-law wouldn't have confessed, right? Are they here to kill me? I'm so nervous, brother-in-law, save me, your sister-in-law is about to die. Yutong, are you bathing? Qinya shouted from outside. That's right, big sister, what's the matter? As expected of a celebrity, Qin Yutong's acting skills were still on par. Oh, you bathe first, I'll talk to you later. All right. Qin Yutong was feeling restless right now. Talk to me? Talk to me? Could it be that I have already been discovered? Luckily, I had just finished comparing my testimony with brother-in-law. I'll listen to what they want to ask first. In any case, I won't admit to anything even if I'm beaten to death. I will resolutely resist their tricks. 10+ minutes later, Qin Yutong was finally done bathing and walked out of the bathroom while wearing light pajamas. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji sat on top of the jade chair and looked at Qin Yutong's walking posture. There doesn't seem to be any problem. As expected, I was thinking too much. Seems like Yihua really doesn't like Yutong. This is going to be difficult. Seems like I can only ask Yutong what she thinks. Big Sister Baiji, is there anything going on so late at night? Qin Yutong asked curiously, then obediently sat at the side. How can I not be obedient? I was just having an affair with their husbands just now. Wow, this is so exciting. Qinya asked curiously, where did you go after the blind date? As expected, she came to ask. Luckily brother-in-law is quick-witted. Brother-in-law and I strolled around for a bit, then we came back. Qin Yutong said with a faint smile. Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji took a look at each other. Seems like they didn't lie, but at the same time, they came to some sort of agreement. Of course, this kind of thing still needs to be asked by Qinya. Dong Huang Baiji won't ask. After all, she is Qin Yutong's big sister. Yutong, big sister wants to ask you something. And big sister, you can ask. Yutong promises that I won't lie. Qin Yutong knew it. Big sister must have found out something. Brother-in-law is too careless. How did big sister find out about it? Qinya nodded her head. Yutong, big sister knows that your standards are very high now, and you don't like ordinary men. What does big sister mean by this? Is big sister not intending to go on a blind date for me? This is also a good thing. I originally didn't plan to go on a blind date. That's right, that's why I am also very depressed. Qin Yutong said while putting on an act. The reason why big sister came here today is to ask you, what do you think of your brother-in-law? Qinya felt that she was rather strange. I don't seem to feel uncomfortable asking this question. Does this count as sharing happiness with him? What a good sister. My brother-in-law? What do you think of him? Qin Yutong was a bit confused, completely unable to understand what big sister meant. Qinya didn't know what to say, and Dong Huang Baiji said with a smile, it's like this, your big sister is afraid that you will be bullied when you get married, so she wants you to marry your brother-in-law, but I don't know what you mean by that. Damn. This is a trick. This trick of yours is too deep, isn't it? No matter what, I am still your little sister. To actually trick me like this, if I were to agree to it right now, wouldn't that mean that I am admitting to having an affair with brother-in-law? Do you think that I, Qin Yutong, am stupid to test me? Brother-in-law must have been tested just now, so he came to look for me. Qin Yutong's expression could be seen immediately changing, and she said coquettishly, you all. How can you all have such thoughts? He is my brother-in-law. This is the fall of morality. Where am I supposed to put my face in the future? Sister-in-law hooking up with brother-in-law. Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji didn't expect that Qin Yutong's reaction would be so intense. Chapter 646. Big sister, you don't need to say anything. It is impossible between brother-in-law and me. You two better dispel this terrifying thought and don't talk about it in the future. If not, I will get angry. Qin Yutong had a righteous look on her face, but in her heart she was thinking, you two actually want to use this method to make me admit defeat. You are looking down on me too much. Qinya asked seriously, Yutong, do you dislike Yi Hua that much? What's so good about brother-in-law? He has a bad temper. He likes to hit people and he is not gentle at all. Other than being handsome and strong, he has no other good points. Although Qin Yutong said that, in her heart, brother-in-law is the best man in the world. Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji didn't expect that Yi Hua was actually like this in Qin Yutong's heart. However, Qin Yutong's description was rather accurate. Yi Hua was indeed like this. Qinya shook her head helplessly and asked for one last time, Yutong, big sister is not joking with you. I really feel that you and Yi Hua are quite good. Big sister is making her final struggle. She is actually tempting me. Big sister, I'm not joking with you. Brother-in-law is not my type. Qin Yutong said resolutely, feeling very pleased in her heart. I will not fall for your tricks. This time, Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji had no other way. Big sister understands you should rest early. Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji stood up and prepared to leave. Qin Yutong warned again, in the future don't talk about it anymore. I don't like brother-in-law. The two women nodded their heads and left. Qinya, what should we do? Yutong doesn't like Yi Hua. What if Yi Hua were to fool around outside and bring another woman back? Dong Huang Baiji was a bit anxious. Qinya was also rather vexed. Let's think of another way. We can only do this. After Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji left, Yi Hua appeared in Qin Yutong's room. Seeing that brother-in-law suddenly appeared, Qin Yutong immediately ran over and hugged onto Yi Hua's waist. Brother-in-law, luckily I am smart, if not we would have definitely been discovered. And they seem to be suspicious of us. Yi Hua said gravely. After asking me, they came to ask about his sister-in-law. It could be seen how suspicious they were. What should I do then? If I get discovered by them, wouldn't they definitely chop me into pieces? Qin Yutong expressed that she was shivering, and begged her brother-in-law to comfort her. Yi Hua patted onto his sister-in-law's head. You don't have to worry too much. No matter what, Qinya is still your big sister. Brother-in-law, if you kiss Yutong once, I will have the courage to do it. Qin Yutong pouted her small mouth and asked for a kiss. Yihua didn't appreciate Qin Yutong's words and knocked onto Qin Yutong's forehead. Brother-in-law, what are you doing? It hurts. What are you talking about? What did you say just now? Is my temper really that bad? Yihua had heard his sister-in-law's words, and he had simply said that he was completely useless. Sob, I'm just spouting nonsense. Brother-in-law, don't be angry. If you say that again, I'll teach you a lesson. Yes, I promise I won't say any more. Can we kiss now? Yihua had no choice but to give his sister-in-law a kiss. In the end, his sister-in-law's desire was not satisfied. Brother-in-law, come to the bed, Yutong will make you comfortable. Yihua swallowed his saliva. This kind of thing is addictive. Let's do it tomorrow. I will go back first now so that they won't come and check the room. In actuality, Yihua had never been worried or nervous about anything. Ever since he had a clandestine affair with his sister-in-law, these two emotions appeared. He discovered that these two emotions were very refreshing and also very novel. Qin Yutong also knew about this and she said faintly, "Then, when will it be tomorrow? I will wait for brother-in-law." Yihua was very satisfied with his sister-in-law's attitude. I will come and look for you. All right, Yutong will wait for brother-in-law to come over then. Yihua pinched onto his sister-in-law's face, then disappeared from the room. Looking at her brother-in-law leaving, Qin Yutong had a bashful look on her face. Brother-in-law is so handsome. I like brother-in-law. However, if the two of them were to know that Qinya and Donghuang Baiji weren't joking around, would they be stupefied? Yihua returned to the children's palace. The two little fellows had already finished bathing and were waiting for their father to come over and accompany them to sleep. Why aren't you two asleep yet? Looking at his two children, Yihua said with a light smile. Yi Yin said with a childish voice, Yen is waiting for Daddy. Ali is waiting too. All right, after Daddy finishes bathing, Daddy will come over and accompany you two to sleep. Dong Huangli immediately urged, Daddy, hurry up and bathe. Little brother and I are still waiting to listen to a story. All right. Right now, Yihua's relationship with the children was getting better and better. The two little fellows were no longer infatuated with their mother. Not long later, Yihua walked out of the bedroom while wearing his pajamas. After that, he laid on the bed and the two little fellows snuggled up to him. Daddy, hurry up and tell Yen'er a story. Yesterday you told Yen'er about the story where the skeleton fought against the serpent men. Will the skeleton die? The serpent men are so powerful. Yi Yin said with a worried look on his face. Dong Huangli, who was at the side, said, That's right, the skeleton is so strong, I hope that he won't die. That's right, Yihua was telling his experiences to the children from the beginning to the end. Even Qinya and Donghuang Baiji didn't know about this matter, but from the tone of the two little fellows, they were able to tell. Back then, Yihua was in a very dangerous situation. Yihua's strength wasn't something that he was born with, it was something that he had gone through many life and death battles. Yihua even named his story, Legend of the Skeleton. Furthermore, he even wanted to publish his story into a book. The sales of his story should be pretty good. I might as well make a serial web novel. How a Skeleton Became Unstoppable. While hugging onto the two children, Yihua said lightly, Of course the skeleton won't die. No matter how dangerous it was, he persevered. Even if he had to clench his teeth, he still had to defeat opponents that were stronger than him and temper himself. Dong Huangli and Yi Yin listened very seriously. Just as Yihua was about to continue, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji suddenly walked into the bedroom. The three people who were on the bed immediately looked over. The two little fellows seemed to know what was going on, and they were tightly hugging onto their father's hand, not letting their mothers snatch their father away. Seeing that their husband and the two children were talking about something, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji revealed a happy smile. I didn't disturb your date, right? Qinya said with a smile. Yi Yin pouted his small mouth. Mommy, Daddy is about to reach the crucial part of the story, you two should quickly go back and rest. That's right, Ali won't let Daddy go. Dong Huangli directly hugged onto her father's arm. This caused Qinya and Donghuang Baiji to not know whether to laugh or cry. From the looks of it, I am the bad woman who snatched away their man. Donghuang Baiji looked at her daughter and said tenderly, Ali, can you lend Daddy to Mommy for a night? Just for a night. Chapter 647. Although the two little guys were unwilling, they were still very obedient. Yi Yin pouted her small mouth and said, Then I can only do it for one night, if not, Yen'er will cry. And I can only give my mother one night. Dong Huangli appeared to be even more serious. Dong Huangli seemed to be saying, if you want to snatch my father away, Dong Huangli won't let you. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji were truly helpless. Just who gave birth to you two? The two mothers also agreed with a smile. Only then did the two little fellows compromise, but their little mouths were almost covered with oil bottles. Daddy, remember to come tomorrow. Yener will be waiting for you. Ali is also waiting for Daddy. The reminders of the two little fellows could still be heard ringing out in the room, causing Yi Hua to feel that it was funny. Looking at his wife who was beside him, Yi Hua asked curiously, "What's wrong?" "I suddenly came over." "Let's talk on the bed," Qingya said. Nowadays even chatting has to go to bed. After quite a while, Yi Hua carried his two wives and laid on the comfortable big bed. Of course he wouldn't do anything. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji wanted to see what kind of attitude their husband had towards this matter. "Speak, what's the matter?" Yi Hua knew that they wouldn't come and look for him for no reason. Qingya lightly caressed onto her husband's chest and said earnestly, "Yi Hua, this time I am serious, really. If I believe you, then I'll be a fool. Qingya, if you still want to talk about Qing Yutong's matter, I will leave right now." Yi Hua shouted out gravely. "It's fine that you tricked me once, but now you are doing it again." Seeing that their husband was angry, the two wives also cowered. However, Dong Huang Baiji asked, "Yi Hua, in actuality Yutong is quite a good person. When it is inconvenient for us, she can also take care of you. You all still don't know, right? Right now, Yutong is already taking care of me and she is even more sensible than you all." "Enough," Yi Hua berated angrily. His acting skills are really good, scaring the two wives to the point that they are shivering and no longer mentioning about it anymore. Yi Hua discovered that his tone seemed to have gone a bit overboard, thus he consoled in a low voice, "Yutong is only my sister-in-law, don't think about other things anymore." Qingya said, "Yi Hua, we all know that, but we are afraid that you—" "What are you afraid of?" Yi Hua asked. Dong Huang Baiji made up her mind, "We are afraid that you will go out to look for other women and then bring them back." The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. They are actually thinking about such a thing, there must be something wrong with their brains, right? You disappoint me. Let me ask you, is there a better woman than you in this world? Would I look for another woman? What a joke. Yi Hua snorted in disdain. Indeed, Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji are the most beautiful women in the entire universe. They are beautiful from head to toe, and every single piece of their skin is of the golden ratio. Just one question, what other woman could be compared to her? Of course, other than his sister-in-law Qing Yutong. When Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji heard what Qingya said, they felt very happy in their hearts. To be able to obtain their husband's approval was an incomparable honor. Finally, Yi Hua let out a sigh of relief and dispelled their worries. If I were to get caught by my wife, I would be screwed. I, the Supreme Overlord, am about to place my face on the ground and rub it against my face. Having a clandestine affair with my sister-in-law, just thinking about it makes my blood boil. The more Yi Hua thought about it, the more he went off topic. The situation caused by Seoul leaving these few days was very strong, and even the Justice Alliance and Peace Association were unable to do anything about it. Furthermore, the internet was also filled with people scolding Seoul leaving these few days. Right now it is about time to wrap things up. I, God raising heaven and earth, wanted to ruin Voidless Realm's reputation, and this time I shall let the world see without Voidless Realm, who else can you seek help from? Prepare to pull in the net. Although you, God raising heaven and earth, won against me a few times, I, the Supreme Overlord, will immediately make a comeback. Let's see what else you can do then. Saturday, if it was any other day, it would be a good day for people to go out and play. However, in Nanyang City, there was not a single man to be seen on the streets. It was as if all the men had disappeared and all the men were women. Today was also the first time that Justice Alliance and Peace Association cooperated together. They were preparing to capture Seoul leaving, and they couldn't continue to be so passive anymore. For this, the two organizations invited reporters over, seemingly wanting to use this capture operation to wash away the humiliation they suffered. The idea is rather good, but it's unknown if it will succeed or not. In this operation, Bai Zixin and Jiu Yi were only the commanders behind the scenes, and they didn't participate in the operation. The weakest of the people who participated in the operation were experts with 2 moons and above. There were even experts with 3 moons, and this time their equipment was very good, and they even used ancient godly items. Moreover, there was a man hidden in the group, and that man was God raising heaven and earth. No one knew about this matter. God raising heaven and earth didn't want to be exposed, and thus he hid in the group and took the opportunity to kill Seoul leaving, and this operation would be considered finished. This woman has brought too much negative influence to the two organizations, and this time I must definitely get rid of her. I can't let this matter drag on any longer, otherwise my plan will be ruined. At this time, Bai Zixin and Wang Debao were sitting in the meeting room giving orders, and of course Jiuyi was also there. Recently Jiuyi was also a bit puzzled. His masters actually seemed to have disappeared, and they didn't respond at all. He looked for them but they didn't reply. This is really strange. Wife, what do you think God raising heaven and earth is planning to do this time? Sending so many people, isn't this completely courting death? Wang Debao asked in a low voice. This time, the operation to capture soul leaving was proposed by God raising heaven and earth, and the people were also arranged according to God raising heaven and earth's arrangements. Even if these people were very powerful, they were only targeting a few people, and soul leaving definitely wouldn't be able to defeat them. Bai Zixin also didn't know what God raising heaven and earth meant, and she couldn't figure out God raising heaven and earth's plan at all. At the same time, she didn't want to guess who knew what it was for this time to send a group of people to die. It was really chilling. We just need to do our job properly. Just as Bai Zixin finished speaking, the sound of tapping came from the side. Jiuyi slapped the 8848 titanium phone in his hand, as if he was a little impatient. F***ck, it's actually broken. Jiuyi looked at the phone and exclaimed. And you said it wouldn't break. It's only been a while and it's already broken. This is too much. The husband and wife looked at Jiuyi talking to himself and shook their heads helplessly. A broken phone could make him so angry it was really quite speechless. And today Soul Leaving came out to kill men as usual. If someone observed carefully, Soul Leaving's eyes seemed to be warm, not as cold as before, and he was even wearing a headset in his ears. Little Soul Hun, pay attention to your expression. How does this look like you hate men? It's completely like you're in passion. Do Fusher said while holding a pair of binoculars. Soul Leaving said in a low voice, Little Do, we are in love, it's really comfortable. Chapter 648. You are the one who said it, I want all kinds of combo. Alright, any combo is fine, whatever you say. This is what I like. Do, wait for me to finish killing, then we will go home. Do Fusher, I really hope that this mission will end soon, I really can't take it anymore. Just when he finished thinking, Wei Chang's voice transmission came over. Do Fusher. Uncle Wei, do you have any instructions? His Honor is preparing to pull in the net, remind him. Wei Chang said gravely. Yes. After cutting off the connection with Wei Chang, Do Fusher became excited. This mission can finally end, Little Soul can no longer go and kill men. Little Do Fusher, what's going on? Soul Departing asked curiously. Little Soul, it's time to pull in the net, get ready. Really? I can finally stop and lie on the bed every day, I'm so excited. Do Fusher, it seems like stopping isn't a good thing. However, Do Fusher didn't know what his Honor had planned, he only told me to inform Soul Depari to cooperate with him. Originally, Do Fusher was still wondering if he and Soul Depari were putting on a show, but it seems like that isn't the case. Yihua naturally had his own plans. If he wanted to change Voidless Realm's image, what he needed was a big scene. However, this big scene has nothing to do with me, it still needs Voidless Realm to make a move, only then will it be interesting. Soul Depari walked around the amusement park board, and from time to time, someone would scream and run away, wishing that they could grow another leg out of their body. Soul Depari yawned, seemingly a bit tired. He didn't sleep well last night. In actuality, until now, Soul Depari still didn't know why he was so infatuated with Do Fusher. In any case, as long as I see him, I want to get close to him. He is like a magnet, attracting me, making me unable to resist him, making me take the initiative. This is something that has never happened before. Although this matter is very strange and absurd, Soul Depari came to a conclusion which made him happy. Humming a song, Soul Depari slowly walked around. When Do Fusher heard the voice that was transmitted into his ears, he couldn't do anything about it. Soul Depari was indeed obedient, she did all the housework, and even his clothes were washed by Soul Depari. However, other than one thing, he couldn't do anything about it. I believe that everyone should know what it is. This woman wants to get up, she wants to get up, she wants to get up, she wants to get up. Suddenly, Do Fusher felt an oppressive aura moving in his direction. Li Hun also sensed it and stopped in his tracks, looking up at the sky. A group of black dots appeared in the sky. It was very obvious. Boom boom boom. One by one, the figures landed on the ground, causing the bluestone on the ground to crack. A few helicopters were hovering in the sky, broadcasting live. At this moment, many people were probably watching the live broadcast. After all, this was a big event between two organizations. Whether they could get rid of the scourge for the people depended on this wave. In the squares of all the major cities, Soul Leaving's figure appeared on the huge screens. Many people were looking at the screen. Although the Soul Leaving killer was a man, it was undeniable that this woman was truly beautiful. Sigh, I really can't bear to see such a woman get killed. What a waste. Then go and try. If you don't kill her, she will kill you. Brother, I'm just sighing. After all, there are far too few beauties like her. Look at her expression. She's not afraid of the Righteous Alliance or the Peace Association at all. That's right. If this kind of woman wasn't a homicidal maniac, she would truly be a heroine among women. What a pity. Everyone stood on the square and spoke one after another. Some people expressed that it was a pity, while some expressed that it was a pity. Especially the men of Nanyang City. They were all thinking, hurry up and get rid of this witch. If not, I won't even dare to go out anymore. However, Soul Leaving Killer seemed to have realized something and appeared very calm. If I can't do it myself, there is still little doubt behind me. Therefore, there is no need for me to be afraid. However, what about these small things? Gonging? Fan Fangyue? Drinking? Eating jilengmi? Bowing? Playing with Huandi? Knocking green onion? Fan Fina Laochu Ginseng Bolt? Rose spitting beach deep forgiveness? Thinking up to here, Soul Leaving Killer's gaze began to change. It was no longer filled with warmth, instead, it was filled with cold-bloodedness. This time, there weren't a lot of people from both sides, there were only around 100 people in total. However, all of them were elites. This could be seen from the moon on their chests. A man could be seen walking out and shouted, "Witch? It's still not too late for you to surrender now." Soul Leaving Killer chuckled and said in a low voice, "If you kneel down and lick my high heels, perhaps I can still agree to your request." Of course, Do Fusher heard Soul Leaving Killer's words and shouted, "Little Soul Leaving Killer is domineering. As expected of my, Do Fusher's woman." However, when Soul Leaving Killer said the word lick, Do Fusher started to daydream. How dare you? You're about to die, yet you still dare to spout such arrogant words. Today will be righteous and kill you, you demoness. Soul Leaving Killer coldly snorted, "Righteous? Then let me take a look. What kind of righteous path are you people?" A ferocious aura spread out from Soul Leaving Killer's delicate body and instantly spread out in all directions. The surrounding buildings started to shake. The team of 100 people also felt Soul Leaving Killer's aura. This which was indeed very powerful. Qing Tiandi, who was in the team, also slightly frowned. This Soul Leaving Killer was indeed very powerful. He did not know if he could get rid of her. Right now he could only give it his all. He could not let a woman ruin his game of chess. Last time, Soul Leaving Killer wasn't able to display her true strength at all, because she was in a poisoned state right from the start. And right now, Soul Leaving Killer was in her perfect state. Right now, even Qing Tiandi was worried if he would be a match for Soul Leaving Killer or not. Within Voidless Realm, Yi Hua was holding onto a tablet and looking at the live broadcast. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth, while Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were leaning against each other. Yi Hua, will this plan work? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Yi Hua stretched out his hand and flicked the Empress's forehead. The Empress pouted her small mouth, expressing that she was not going to let Yi Hua off. Even I don't believe in her. Tell me, do you think that you deserve to be beaten or not? Yi Hua said faintly. Qingya looked at Soul Leaving Killer on the tablet and said lightly, "This woman is very powerful. If Baiji doesn't make a move, it doesn't seem like it will work, right?" Yi Hua laughed mysteriously. This caused Qingya and Donghuang Baiji to be very puzzled. Our husband would never do something that he wasn't confident in, and right now he is actually so relaxed. There can only be one result. Yi Hua, this Soul Leaving Killer can't be one of your people, right? Donghuang Baiji asked in astonishment. Yi Hua said faintly, "In the past this Soul Leaving Killer wasn't, but right now she is more or less." What do you mean? Qingya asked curiously. Do Fusher. Yi Hua mentioned. Chapter 649. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji both knew that their husband loved to be a matchmaker, and he loved to play matchmaker for his subordinates even more. As long as he found a good lady, he would definitely think of his subordinates. This idea was not wrong, but wasn't it a little too enthusiastic? Which boss could reach this point? This time, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji misunderstood Yi Hua. Yi Hua didn't go and act as a matchmaker for Do Fusher and Soul Departing. Even Yi Hua didn't expect that Do Fusher and Soul Departing would be together. Do you all think that I have the time to do that? Yihua asked faintly. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads, indicating that you are indeed very free. Yihua shook his head helplessly and said lightly, this time it wasn't me, it was them. Donghuang Baiji cried out in surprise. What happened? Quickly tell us about it. That's right, that's right. Battle floating world looks so ordinary. This departing soul is so cold and arrogant. Why would he like battle floating world? You two gossipy women, you even want to inquire about my subordinates' private matters. Yihua laughed lightly. Say it, say it. Yes, yes, yes. Tell me quickly. Towards the two wives acting coquettishly, Yihua was completely helpless, and he couldn't stand it the most. Right now, he really wanted to place the two of them on the bed and rub against them with all his might. It was soul departing who slept with Dou Fusher, that's all I know. Upon hearing that, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's faces were filled with disbelief. Looking at Li Hun on the tablet, she doesn't look like a woman who would take the initiative to sleep with a man. You really can't judge a book by its cover. It's a new world view. At the venue. At this moment, astral winds were howling, and the surrounding houses were on the verge of collapse under the astral winds. Some of the roofs were even lifted up. A five-colored divine sword appeared in Soul Captive's hand, and the aura of fear became even more violent. The blue sky was instantly enveloped by dark clouds, and rumbling sounds rang out. The helicopter in the air immediately flew higher, not daring to get too close, but the image that was transmitted was shocking. No one had expected this demoness to be so powerful. She did not do anything, but just standing there was already a mountain of pressure. Moreover, this was through the screen. It was even more terrifying now. That's right, hundreds of people felt the true terror of the demoness. It turned out that under that beautiful face, there was such a terrifying strength hidden. Qing Tian, who was in the team, had a deep look in his eyes. He frowned slightly. This was a little tricky. Get into formation. With a shout from one of the men, hundreds of people instantly dispersed. Sky-bearing secret formation. In an instant, the 100 cultivators started to form hand seals. Boundless spiritual chi emanated from each of their bodies, fighting against the aura of the soul detachment. It seemed that these people had also come prepared. This kind of array formation was not something that could be cultivated in a day or two. Everyone's output of spiritual energy had to reach a balance, otherwise the foundation of the array formation would be destroyed. The Dharma eye of this array formation was none other than the heaven and earth pillar. With him as the eye, it was quite safe. Li Hun did not move the five-colored divine sword in his hand. He did not even take any defensive measures. A faint curtain of light appeared around Soulfly's body and gradually expanded. Strange runes gradually appeared on the ground, and the dense spirit chi also became stronger as the formation took shape. Seeing this scene, Qing Tiandi's lips curled into a smile. He loved people who underestimated their enemies the most because they didn't know how tragic the consequences would be. Ha! The 100 people shouted angrily. Their loud voices soared into the sky and even pierced through the black clouds above, forming a white cave. Suddenly, a tentacle-like face suddenly appeared on the formation. In the blink of an eye, Li Hun was completely wrapped up. It looked like an Asian binding. In the sky, a huge treasure sword slowly formed as the spiritual pressure gathered. A terrifying pressure swept across the ground, and the scene was like the end of the world. At this moment, all the facilities in the amusement park collapsed. At this time, the host could not help but exclaim, "Dear viewers, a treasure sword formed from spiritual chi is gathering in the sky. This aura is enough to kill the female demon below." Facing such an array formation, the female demon is completely defenseless. The Righteous Alliance and the Peace Association are really the saviors. Let's give them a thumbs up. When the people in the plaza saw this scene, they already knew the result. This array formation was too powerful. It did not give anyone a chance to survive. First, it tied her up, then it used the treasure sword. This sword seemed to be able to pierce through the entire earth, let alone a woman's body. Soul Detachment slightly raised his head and looked at the treasure sword in the sky. The corner of his mouth curled into a smile that no one knew. Dou Fusher, who was hiding far away, also shouted through the earpiece, "Little Soul Detachment, stop playing around. Be careful." "Little Dodo, don't you know my strength?" Dou Fusher was speechless. Soul Detachment's strength was indeed very strong. Even I could only lie down. In the end, this was all because of Dou Fusher's *T. The unknown black gas that was brought out by Dou Fusher affected Soul Detachment's body. At the same time, it affected Soul Detachment's strength. Wei Chang's black gas was not just ordinarily powerful. It was able to turn a person from level 0 to level 100. The green and red brothers were a good example. The treasure sword in the sky had already formed, and it was emitting a scorching aura. The treasure sword that was formed from spiritual chi was also emitting a resplendent radiance. The entire scene looked as if the world was being saved, and everyone who saw this scene was filled with excitement. The 100 people shouted again, "Destroy!" Everyone pointed their fingers at Soul Detachment, who was at the center of the array formation. The treasure sword in the sky moved. The tip of the sword pierced through the air and created sparks. A terrifying pressure rushed towards Soul Detachment. Soul Detachment's beautiful hair immediately fluttered in the air, but Soul Detachment was still unmoved. Along with the speed at which the treasure sword was descending, the treasure sword gradually became smaller, turning into the size of an ordinary longsword. Although the treasure sword had become smaller, the spiritual chi around it had become even more turbulent. Do Fusher shouted worriedly through the earpiece, "Little Soul Detachment, quickly dodge, it's dangerous." Soul Detachment ignored Do Fusher and continued to straighten his chest. Everyone's eyes were fixated on the scene, waiting for the scene to start cheering. The treasure sword finally descended, and with everyone's hope, it pierced towards Soul Detachment's chest. Everyone held their breaths and stared fixedly at the scene. The white spiritual sword came into contact with Soul Detachment's chest. This scene froze on the big screens in all of the public squares, and everyone immediately started cheering. Success. The witch has finally been killed. Men don't need to be afraid anymore, they can stand up and continue to masturbate. Waves of cheers swept through all of the public squares. People hugged each other and celebrated crazily, and couples stood on the streets and kissed passionately. They could finally walk on the streets openly, and they wouldn't have to worry about the witch descending from the sky to kill them. However, just when everyone was celebrating, the joyful expression on their faces froze, because something strange appeared on the screen. Chapter 650. At this moment, the spirit sword was like a piece of paper, colliding with Li Hun's chest, and the huge inertia caused the spirit sword to be compressed into a ball. Then, it fell to the ground without making any sound. Everyone stared blankly at the screen, unable to believe everything in front of them. Such a powerful sword actually had no effect. It was like air in front of the demoness. This demoness was only wearing an ordinary long dress. It was impossible to tell what kind of armor she was wearing, yet she was able to block the great sword with just her body. Was she even human? All the men were in despair. God wanted to exterminate men. When some girls saw such a scene, they immediately pounced into their boyfriend's embrace and cried bitterly. Why didn't the heavens take back the witch? If the witch doesn't die, my boyfriends will die. When Yihua saw this scene, he first went into a slight daze and soon after he laughed out loud. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji still don't know what kind of personality men have? He loved watching such scenes the most, especially those expressions of despair. I like this departed soul. Not bad. Yihua looked at Li Hun, who was shown on the screen. This expression, this gaze, it is truly somewhat similar to the main body. To be able to receive a white blade on his chest, formidable. I'm going to go and properly praise this soul departing, he has done a great job. However, Yihua immediately felt the killing intent coming from the side. What do you like? Say it again? Qingya said tenderly. To actually say that he likes his subordinate's wife in front of me, does he even have a bottom line? Donghuang Baiji snorted. The two women were very jealous. They would rather hear Yihua say that he likes Yu Tong than to hear Yihua say that he likes other women. The main thing was that the pretentiousness displayed by Li Hun caused the two women to be a bit surprised. From the looks of it, I have never done something like this before. Seeing how happy Yihua is smiling, the two women couldn't help but feel unhappy in their hearts. My wife is getting jealous, my husband, do as you see fit. Yihua coughed lightly, expressing that he was a bit embarrassed. I'm just sighing with emotion. The expression that this soul has displayed is quite similar to the main body. Donghuang Baiji pouted her cherry lips, then said coquettishly, if you still say that you like other women in the future, I will go on a hunger strike. Me too. Qingya echoed. How old are you? Why are you still fasting like Yener and Ali? It's none of your business. You're not allowed to like other women anyway. Alright, the Supreme Overlord will not talk about it anymore in the future, alright. Yihua was helpless. To think that you all still dare to say that I, the Supreme Overlord, am jealous, but aren't you all the same? Hearing what Donghuang Baiji said, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji immediately beamed with joy. The two of them kissed their husbands sweetly, then continued watching the movie. Yi Hua sighed with emotion in his heart. Seems like I and Yu Tong will have to continue having an affair. These two women don't even allow me to talk about it, let alone do it. At this moment, Wandering Soul yawned again as if he was very sleepy. Is this your righteous path? Li Han said coolly. Qing Tian was shocked. This formation actually had no effect on soul detaching. It shouldn't be. Even if an expert were to be reborn, facing such a formation would only result in death. However, this woman was actually able to block the white blade on her chest. How was this possible? It didn't make sense at all. Qing Tian wasn't the only one who was surprised. Hundreds of people were dumbfounded. Under such a huge attack, this woman wasn't injured at all. She even yawned and taunted them as if the attack was just a tickle to her. Li Han narrowed his eyes. I'll show you. I'll show you what is the true righteous path. Li Han could be seen loosening her grip on the multicolored godly sword. The sword didn't land on the ground and was instead floating in the air. Thoughtless severing sun. Li Han's alluring little mouth slowly spat out. The multicolored godly sword instantly blossomed with light, and everyone couldn't help but narrow their eyes. However, just like that, tens of people fell from the sky while being covered in blood. The multicolored godly sword was like a bullet that could track its target, and it pierced through every single person's body. Facing such an attack, everyone present was completely unable to do anything. As the number of people decreased, the formation instantly dissipated. Li Han swung her hand, and while listening to the sound of people falling from the sky, Li Han slightly closed her beautiful eyes, seemingly enjoying this moment very much. In the blink of an eye, all 100 people fell onto the ground, and their blood was like a pool of blood. Meanwhile, the multicolored godly sword returned to Li Han's hand. Righteous path, that is just a plaything under my high heels. Li Han sneered. When Do Fusher heard what Li Han said, he felt as if his entire body was about to combust, and he really wanted to press Little Soul onto the bed and rub her against him. Furthermore, I didn't expect that Little Soul would have such a strong personality. Is this my woman? F***K. I, Do Fusher, am known to have dug up countless treasures, but I still can't compare to this woman. Little Soul is the real treasure here. Yi Hua also heard Li Han's voice, and the corner of his mouth twitched a bit. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were about to roll over from laughing. Ah! Yi Hua, to think that you would have such a day. Look at that Li Han, she's even better at acting than you. Qingya was about to cramp up from laughing. Donghuang Baiji covered her small mouth and laughed. I must say, this Li Han is indeed formidable, especially that plaything under my high heels. Why is she so awesome? Even I am starting to admire her a bit. Yi Hua felt that he had met his match. How can I be defeated by Do Fusher's woman? Wait till I, the Supreme Overlord, also come and act cool one day. I will let you all know what is called strong. What is called a real strong personality. When Yi Hua's words landed into everyone's ears, the crowd burst into an uproar. Righteous path is just a plaything under this woman's high heels. Looking at Li Han on the big screen, Li Han is truly handsome. Some brainless fans immediately started cheering and shouting that Li Han was handsome. In fact, there were even some young ladies who idolized Li Han and fantasized that they would also be able to do something like Li Han. Honestly speaking, with Li Han's imposing manner and the surrounding bloody environment, coupled with her words, Li Han was truly extremely handsome. Looking at Do Fusher, he was about to not be able to endure it anymore. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao were also looking at Li Han blankly. This woman is actually so strong. If we didn't get poisoned that night, the ones who would have died would have been us. Meanwhile, Wang Debao was also comparing Li Han with his wife. It seems that Li Han is slightly taller than Li Han by a bit. I'm truly envious of this man. Of course, Wang Debao was just sighing in admiration. This woman is truly strong. Meanwhile, Jiao Yi, who was at the side, was still fiddling with the 8848 titanium phone that he was holding onto and was currently making a call to the after-sales service. Just by listening to that roar, one could tell that Jiao Yi was very dissatisfied. On the stage, Li Han was holding onto a 5-colored godly sword, and her pair of bright red high heels were stepping on the blood. With every step she took, everyone's heart would throb. Everyone was thinking, could it be that there is no one who is able to stop this demoness? Heavens, quickly send down a brave warrior to save everyone. Are you still going to continue acting? Li Han said faintly. This was a kind of overall effect and unique aura. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin did not expect that the Heaven and Earth God would personally participate in the competition. It was obvious that the Heaven and Earth God attached great importance to this competition. Of course, Lord Jiu also saw the Heaven and Earth God. His mind started to turn frantically. If this master died, it seemed like he would have to seek shelter elsewhere. This Lord Jiu lacks everything but a master. If you don't believe me, take a look at my contacts on WeChat. As he stood up, the entire scene exploded in an instant. It was as if a giant had stood up. Everyone had forgotten that this guy had been playing dead just now. Handsome. Get rid of this demoness and my girlfriend will sleep with you. That's right, as long as you kill this female devil, my boyfriend won't mind because he wants to live. Get rid of her. I want to go to the bar and pick up girls. Countless men began shouting. All of their hopes were placed on Heaven and Earth God, but right now Heaven and Earth God was in a bad state. Soul Departing kept the multicolored divine sword in her hand and stretched out her slender index finger. On the fingernail there was even red nail polish that was painted on it, and it looked very beautiful. You are their leader, right? Kneel on the ground and repent, and I will spare your life. That arrogant Soul Departing, if placed in other places, she would be a villain, and Heaven and Earth God would be the main character that was going to defy the heavens. Of course, Heaven and Earth God wouldn't admit that he was their leader, only an idiot would admit that. However, this woman sure is daring to actually want me to kneel down and repent. I'm afraid that you haven't experienced my true ability. Something's wrong. Heaven and Earth God looked towards the helicopter in the sky. If I were to reveal my true ability, wouldn't I be exposed? If I were to reveal all of my trump cards, what am I supposed to do? Should I be a coward first? In the future, I will look for an opportunity to make a comeback. This is a good idea. No. A strong person must have the dignity of a strong person. How can I kneel down? However, as a man, I have to know when to yield and when to stand tall. I have to know when to grow and when to grow. I have to know when to shrink and when to grow. At most, I will use blood to wash away this humiliation in the future. I still can't. As a man, I have to be able to support the heavens and the earth. Even if blood can flow, my dignity cannot be messed up. It has already been 5 minutes. How much longer do you need to think about? Soul Departing was a bit impatient. At the very least, you should say something. Why are you taking so long to think about a matter of survival? Just as Soul Departing was getting impatient, his earpiece rang. Little Soul Departing, His Honor said, we cannot kill this man, but we can cripple him. Do Fusher had just received Wei Chang's order, and he hurriedly passed it down to Soul Departing. Don't mess up His Honor's plan. And got it? Soul Departing said lightly. However, no matter how lightly Soul Departing said, Soul Departing was still heard by Heaven and Earth God. This woman. There's someone on the helicopter. Who is the one that gave the order to this woman? It is definitely Voidless Realm. Damn it, this Voidless Realm is so ruthless, to actually force me to such an extent, vicious enough. Heaven and Earth God had calculated everything, but he didn't expect that Soul Departing would be attacked by Do Fusher's fart. If not for that fart, Soul Departing definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand that great sword, and Soul Departing would definitely have been injured. That's why I say Do Fusher's fart is truly good. Heaven and Earth God straightened his back and locked his gaze onto Soul Departing. That expression of his gave off the feeling that he was looking down on the entire world. In a single sentence he gave off the aura of a king. Suddenly, Soul Departing's brows wrinkled. Soul Departing's delicate body immediately moved at high speed. Soul Departing turned her head around and looked at her skirt, and a tear was actually torn open on it. Not bad, no wonder you didn't kneel, you have some ability. Soul Departing was a bit unhappy. This is a new skirt that I just bought, and Do Fusher has only seen it once. Do Fusher even said that my eyesight is not bad, but right now my skirt was actually torn open. Bastard. Soul Departing's beautiful eyes shifted towards Heaven and Earth God. The latter was startled. What's going on? Why did you suddenly get angry? I didn't even injure you, what are you getting angry for? Are you crazy? All of the spectators were no longer calm, and they began cheering once again. This female devil actually dodged. She actually dodged. This is a great thing. There is actually someone who told her to dodge, which means that even she is afraid. An overflowing evil aura burst out from Soul Departing's body. I'm going to crush your head with my high heels. Chapter 652. Because Do Fusher liked to wear high heels, Drifting Soul also liked to wear high heels. Therefore, every sentence he said had high heels in it. Soul Departing's body flickered as she stood in place, not daring to be careless. A strange shadow hovered around Sky holding, like countless invisible knives. To be more precise, they were knives formed by astral winds. Back then Xiaoyi had died under this move, instantly killed. However, soul departing wasn't Xiaoyi. That ghostly movement technique was actually frantically dodging, causing Qing Tian to be in a daze. This woman was actually able to dodge. How was this possible? Holding the heavens and earth had seen people use weapons to block, but he had never seen anyone who could hide and hide for so long. Shadowless green light. Holding up the heavens and earth, Qing Tian roared as his body emitted bursts of spiritual qi. His strength rose to the peak. The surrounding astral winds gradually turned green, and their speed increased. It also meant that it was sharper. Li Hun, who had transformed into a phantom, snorted, "Do you really think you can stop me?" Courting death. Golden scale fist. Qing Tian's face tightened as he felt a powerful pressure coming at him. That small golden fist actually broke his astral wind with a single punch. This was way too powerful. Shield of Forgetfulness. Qing Tian roared as a black iron shield appeared in his hand. Don't underestimate this shield. It was an ancient divine artifact, and its function was to counterattack. No matter how much power the opponent had, it would be reflected back. Soul Departing didn't think too much about it. His fist slammed fiercely onto the shield, causing a shockwave to explode out and a series of explosions. When Departed Soul's punch landed on the shield, he realized that something was wrong. A powerful force was counterattacking. Bang! Soul Drifting's body was sent flying dozens of meters away. Her red high heels left a deep mark on the ground, but the heels did not break. It could be seen that the quality was quite good. After this battle, this pair of high-heeled shoes was sold out. When everyone saw that Soul Departing had been sent flying, they were stunned for a moment before bursting into cheers. Dear viewers, I'm here to tell you a piece of good news. This demoness has been beaten back. They were forced to retreat by this hero. A hero has fallen from the sky. We are finally saved. When some men saw this scene, they cried tears of joy. They had finally seen a miracle. It wasn't easy. They didn't even dare to go shopping with their wives anymore. Drifting Soul slowly straightened his body and stared at heaven and earth. Qing Tiandi said faintly, "This shield of mine." Before he could finish his sentence, Qing Tiandi felt a creaking sound coming from his shield. With the naked eye, he could see cracks appearing on the surface of the shield. The cracks were increasing in number as though it was about to explode. Qing Tiandi hurriedly threw the shield in his hand into the air. Boom boom boom. The forgotten shield exploded in the air, forming a gigantic mushroom cloud. The terrifying shockwave instantly descended, uprooting all of the trees, creating a terrifying scene. Even though Soulless had been repelled by the shield, he had still managed to shatter an ancient god artifact with a single punch. One could imagine how monstrous the current Soulless was. "What did you want to say?" Li Hun asked curiously. Qing Tian was embarrassed. He had wanted to brag about his shield, but it had been destroyed by a single punch. She was indeed a powerful woman. "My shield is actually not the most powerful weapon," Mighty Heaven and Earth said in a deep voice. In fact, the Forgotten Shield was one of his most powerful weapons, and it could easily turn the tables. However, this woman was still able to stand and speak after being counterattacked. She must be pretending, but she had actually suffered internal injuries. She was quite good at acting. Did she really think that I, Mighty Heaven and Earth, wouldn't know? Spirit Beast Berserk Art. Mighty Heaven and Earth was still stable. He did not want to reveal too much of his abilities, lest he was discovered. If necessary, he would have to pretend to be weak. Mighty Heaven and Earth threw out a piece of parchment, and with a flash of light, a large bull's head could be seen floating in the air. That's right, it was a bull's head, but this bull's head was incomparably large. It was panting heavily, and its nostrils were emitting hot streams of air. Soulless looked at it and felt disgusted. Especially the mucus under the bull's mouth, it actually had a corrosive effect on the ground. "This is an ancient beast, the demon girl. Looks like you're finished." Mighty Heaven and Earth felt that it was about time. The Forgotten Shield and the Spirit Beast Berserk Art were his secret weapons, but they had been used up to deal with a demon girl. He hoped that it would be effective. If it was in the past, it would definitely be effective. Even if Soulless did not die, she would still be seriously injured. Especially the counterattack of the Forgotten Shield, it was not something that an ordinary person could withstand. If it was not for the problem of hardness, it would definitely be able to counterattack 100%. Friends in the audience, did you all see this? This man actually summoned an ancient beast. My God, this is the first time I have seen this kind of spirit beast. Even though it is flying in the air, I still feel a trace of fear in my heart. Looks like the demon girl is really going to die. Right after the host finished speaking, Soulless could be seen fiercely taking a look at the bull's head, and a pair of beautiful eyes were released. Death gaze. The bull's head could be seen pausing for a moment, and that expression on its face changed from excitement to fear. Afterward, without even thinking, it ran away. Which person is so lacking in morals, to actually summon this Lord Bull to fight a monster, and furthermore, it is the kind that cannot be defeated, bastard. Right now, mighty heaven and earth's brain was a bit lacking. The ancient beast that I summoned actually ran away. How is this possible? Didn't we agree on 100% loyalty? These 4 liars. To actually lie to me. It is not that Brother Bull's loyalty is not high enough, rather, it is that Soulless death gaze is too terrifying. This is the difference in strength. With just a single look, you will know the consequences. Right now, the scene changed to the escaping bull's head. The host didn't know how to continue the conversation. This is so awkward. Mighty heaven and earth's face was very bad, and he forcefully explained, that bull just now was given to me by someone else. I am not very familiar with it. It is one thing for you to cut my clothes. Furthermore, you even brought such a disgusting thing over. Soulless immediately erupted. Mighty heaven and earth did not expect that this woman would actually start fighting just like that, completely not following the rules of the pugilistic world at all, to even give the other party a warning before fighting. Mighty heaven and earth did not dare to be careless. Once again, he took out an ancient god equipment and smashed it onto the ground, causing a purple mist to immediately spread out. Very quickly, mighty heaven and earth put on a gas mask. This gas version of an ancient god equipment was very rare, and it took me a lot of effort to obtain it. Originally, I planned to save it for when I need to save my life, but right now, I have no choice but to use it. Demon girl, this is a highly toxic poison. After smelling it, my entire body will become powerless, and my 4 limbs will become stiff, and I will no longer be able to move. That's why it is called 4 limbs killer. Mighty heaven and earth was very proud of himself. Chapter 653. Li Hun, who was standing beside Qing Tiandi, said, "Oh? There is such a poison in the world? In that case you have to taste it yourself." After speaking, Li Hun opened up Qing Tiandi's hands and held his breath, looking like he was not going to breathe in the poison no matter what. Li Hun sneered, then directly punched onto Qing Tiandi's stomach. How could Qing Tiandi be able to hold his breath? Seeing that Qing Tiandi breathed in the poison, Li Hun felt relieved. Meanwhile, Qing Tiandi sneered in his heart. "Fortunately, I have the antidote, otherwise I would have died here today." After taking out the antidote, Qing Tiandi revealed a complacent smile. "In the end, I, Qing Tiandi, am going to win against Qing Tiandi." Just as Qing Tiandi was drinking the antidote, a huge shadow rushed over and knocked onto Qing Tiandi's arm. Meanwhile, Qing Tiandi looked at the antidote being smashed into pieces, and the bull head had already disappeared. How did this happen? That was the only antidote, and it was actually smashed into pieces by the spiritual beast that I summoned. Why am I so unlucky today? How could something like this happen? Qing Tiandi could feel that his 4 limbs were gradually becoming stiff. Being poisoned by my own ancient godly equipment, if this matter were to spread out, it would be a joke. More importantly, my antidote was actually smashed into pieces by the ancient ferocious beast that I summoned. I didn't look at the almanac when I went out today. If I had known earlier, I would have come another day. Gradually, the smoke dispersed and Li Hun's figure appeared. Qing Tiandi's figure also appeared. Qing Tiandi could already feel that his 4 limbs had become stiff. Fortunately, that demon woman's situation is the same as mine. This is truly a blessing and misfortune. This can be considered as perishing together with the demon woman, right? Demon woman, we are also unable to move now. There will be people coming over to kill you soon. Qing Tiandi had a way to recover, otherwise he would have long exploded from anger. How could he still be so calm? When these words fell on the streets and alleys, there were real cheers this time. This man had really taken care of the witch. This is truly satisfying. Quickly send people over to kill the demon woman. Don't let any more accidents happen. A trace of an evil smile appeared on the corner of Li Hun's mouth. Who told you that I am the same as you? Drifting Soul waved her hands and even spun around. She was so beautiful that her dress was dancing in the air. Do Fusher decided that when he got back he would have a good talk with him. In the future, don't wear skirts and twirl in circles. Be careful not to expose yourself. Li Hun was still able to spin in circles, and his jaw was about to drop to the ground. Why was this woman perfectly fine? She wasn't wearing a gas mask and she had even spoken just now. How could she not have inhaled it? This was impossible. The people who were still celebrating enthusiastically just now collapsed in an instant. Today's mood was like sitting on a roller coaster, going up and down, terrifying to the extreme. How did you do it? Qing Tiandi was unwilling to accept this. They had already perished together, so why were you completely fine? Li Hun pursed her cherry lips. Perhaps this is strength. You won't understand. Qing Tiandi was speechless. Despair? The men were all in despair. We are still unable to defeat this woman even after all this. Why does the heavens treat men like this? It's time to settle the score for cutting my clothes and disgusting me. Soul Departing walked in front of Qing Tian with a sinister smile. Qing Tian, who couldn't move his limbs, hurriedly said, "Don't come over. Let me tell you, you will regret this." Soul Departing laughed lightly, then directly punched onto Qing Tiandi's face, causing his chin to become crooked. Meanwhile, Qing Tiandi was just like a cannonball, crashing into all kinds of buildings and raising up a large amount of dust. This was a one-sided abuse. Meanwhile, Qing Tiandi's figure was flying around in the amusement park. Soul Departing's attack was very accurate. She definitely didn't take Qing Tiandi's life. Looking at Qing Tiandi being completely abused like this, everyone became lifeless. If only there was someone who stood out right now. Perhaps it was the heavens that heard the people's cries. In the sky above the amusement park, a golden light actually flashed, and the golden light immediately dispersed the darkness. The scene immediately changed to this mystical scene. The host was stupefied and he shouted out with a lisp, "Audience! Friends, there's a sudden movement in the clouds. Could it be that a celestial is about to appear? Seems like the heavens didn't abandon us, a celestial is about to descend." This time no one cheered. Who knows whether or not we will be pressed onto the ground by the demon woman later on. It has already happened so many times, and we are truly unable to endure such a blow. Suddenly, silhouettes appeared in the clouds. They were dressed in golden robes and silver armor, and they stood in 3 rows, forming an arc coupled with the golden special effects. They looked like celestial soldiers and generals. Even though the auras that the 1,000 people gave off were not as terrifying as soul hibernators, they were filled with light and righteousness. All of their faces were brimming with confidence because they knew that they were here to put on a show. The scene then switched to a few flags. When they saw the words on the flag, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. These people are actually voidless realm experts. An existence even more terrifying than this demoness. The host was rendered speechless. He originally thought that it was reinforcements, but it turned out to be another demon. This time it was Tang Yu who led the troops here. His armor was different from the others. It was completely golden, and there was a lifelike dragon pattern on his chest. He gave off a very righteous feeling and didn't look like a bad person. Soul Soaring put down the heaven and earth in his hand. At this moment, the heaven and earth had been beaten beyond recognition by Soul Soaring. If those 4 people saw the heaven and earth in this state, they would definitely be extremely excited. "Who are you? Do you want to kneel down and lick my high heels?" Drifting Soul shouted. Naturally, she knew that this was little Daodu's mission. All she had to do was to cooperate well. Naturally, she couldn't be too pompous. If little Daodu was punished, her heart would ache. Do Fusher looked at the crowd in the sky and thought to himself, his honor's extravagance is quite impressive. There are at least a few thousand people here, right? It looks very spectacular. Demoness, you have already violated Voidless Realm's law by bringing disaster to the common people. Today my Voidless Realm shall bring you to justice. I am enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. It had to be said that Tang Yu's current performance was pretty good. His handsome appearance had captured the hearts of many young ladies. Qing Tian, who was already on the verge of death, cursed at Voidless Realm's shamelessness. "Voidless Realm, just you wait, sooner or later I will kill you all." Li Hun suddenly let out a seductive laughter. "Another group of people who enforce justice on behalf of heaven? Wait until I kill all of you one by one, then I will know what is Dao." Everyone didn't even have the time to react to what just happened. Isn't Voidless Realm a bad organization? Why would they come to arrest him? This was too strange. However, they wouldn't make wild guesses until the end. Chapter 654. Soul Departing lightly flipped her hair. Just this small action alone caused a commotion in the hearts of many men. When this woman is beautiful, her action of flipping her hair is simply incomparable. Do Fusher felt deeply proud. My little Soul Hun is obedient, strong, and most importantly she is beautiful. Her figure is also extremely good. In my heart she is a perfect woman. However, when he thought of the two madams, his little Solhun's temperament and aura lost quite a bit. However, this is also normal. The two madams are the two madams, how can I compare them? Isn't this just courting death? In my heart, my little Solhun is the most perfect woman. Soul departing indeed has this kind of charm. Even if I am facing voidless realm right now, I won't feel any fear. However, this is all just an act. As the subordinate of a supreme overlord, if I don't even know how to act, I won't be able to do it. Soul departing coldly looked at Tang Yu, who was in the sky, and a five-colored divine sword appeared in her hand once again. The aura of voidless realm's 1,000 people clashed against Soul departing's aura. Soul departing fought against 1,000 people by himself. This courage was indeed admirable, especially for those who were watching the live broadcast. Yi Hua looked at Soul departing and smiled. This acting is not bad, don't you think so? Qinya and Donghuang Baiji expressed their unhappiness. Look at Yi Hua today, he has already praised us countless times, but you have never praised us like this before. Yi Hua also felt helpless. What is this jealousy? This Soul departing is indeed not bad, she is comparable to Zishan, and in the future she will be one of the two main forces. I feel that these two women are more reliable than their own men. I can be at ease and assign some tasks to them. Tang Yu, who was in the scene, was also shocked. I didn't expect this woman to be so powerful. Fortunately, she is one of us. If she is an enemy, we have no chance of winning at all. Of course, this is only in terms of strength. If she takes out the treasure given by the Empress, then, Tang Yu could be seen stretching out her palm. A purple forest pagoda appeared on her palm. This purple forest pagoda was also one of the items in Yi Hua's collection, and it was more than enough to deal with Soul departing. When the purple forest pagoda appeared, a loud sound immediately rang out in the sky, causing everyone's ears to ring. A five-colored cloud floated in the sky, emitting light. That threatening aura carried a ferocious momentum as it struck towards Soul departing. When Li Hun saw the violet forest pagoda in Tang Yu's hand, her beautiful eyes narrowed. This wasn't an act, she was truly shocked. The things that Qin Tian took out were all toys, nothing to be afraid of, but the treasures that this person took out were indeed enough to make him feel fear. Demoness. Today, Voidless Realm will let you see what is righteous. Tang Yu shouted out lightly. Soul drifting away came back to her senses, and the five-colored divine sword in her hand shone brightly. Let's see who's the righteous one. White Moon Sky Dance. Following Soul Lone Sal's shout, she seemed to be dancing, and waves of massive sword energy rampaged about her surroundings. As Soul Lone Soul danced, she gave off a massive spiritual pressure, and the ground seemed unable to withstand the pressure, and it began to collapse. Pink, mist-like sword energy swirled around Soul Lone Soul. Tang Yu's gaze sank, and in an instant she threw out the violet forest pagoda in her hand. The pressure coming from the ancient artifact was even more terrifying, and the size of the pagoda gradually became bigger as well, enveloping the top of Soul Lone Sal's head. The terrifying aura caused Soul Lone Soul, who was below, to be unable to breathe, and she was incomparably shocked in her heart. Just what kind of treasure is this? From the aura that the pagoda is emitting, it should be a treasure from the ancient era. Let's see just how powerful this treasure is. Following Soul Lone Sal's shout, countless five-colored divine swords successfully condensed, and with a world-destroying might, the five-colored divine swords flew towards the violet forest pagoda in the sky. Tang Yu shouted out, "Descend." The violet forest pagoda that was floating in the sky could be seen descending with a majestic might, and at this moment Soul Lone Sal's body was instantly suppressed by a bit. Under the might of the violet forest pagoda, the sword intent that was emitting a majestic aura earlier completely dissipated. Soul Lone Soul found it hard to believe that she was actually unable to retaliate at all under the might of the violet forest pagoda. Soul Lone Sal's expression of unwillingness and fear was captured on the screen. This wasn't an act, this was what Soul Lone Soul was thinking. Boom. The purple forest pagoda landed on the ground and collected Soul departing. Do Fusher was extremely nervous right now. Would little Soul Hun be alright? This pagoda looked really powerful. Your Honor, Soul Hun is one of us, don't be too fierce. Everyone watching the live broadcast held their breath. They didn't want to see the female devil break out of the tower. Tang Yu once again stretched out her palm, and the purple forest pagoda flew over to her side. The pagoda became smaller and smaller, and when it entered into Tang Yu's palm, it immediately disappeared. At this time the camera switched to Tang Yu. Tang Yu also knew that she was still looking at the camera. The radiance of Voidless Realm will envelop the entire land. No one is allowed to slander Voidless Realm's glory. Long live the Empress. The thousands of soldiers behind her shouted in unison, "Long live the Empress." When this sentence reached everyone's ears, their minds became a bit muddled. The first thought that came to everyone's mind was that Voidless Realm was a good person, and that Voidless Realm was being framed by someone. All along, no one from Voidless Realm came out to give an explanation. However, this time, when Voidless Realm came out to give an explanation, they immediately got rid of a scourge. Isn't this enough to explain everything? Everyone in the plaza cheered again. Long live Voidless Realm, long live your majesty. May the Empress live for 10,000 years. People are all like this, whoever can give them a happy life they will recognize that person as their boss. This time Voidless Realm was able to do this, and it made everyone's opinion of Voidless Realm change. Who cares about Voidless Realm's schemes? In any case, Voidless Realm helped Voidless Realm to get rid of the crisis. Yihua pursed his lips, then stretched out his hand and smacked onto Donghuang Baiji's perky butt. What are you doing? It hurts. Donghuang Baiji said shyly. Yihua said faintly, I'm trying out the feeling of empresses, but it feels pretty good. The Empress was quite angered by her husband, and after a snort, she turned her head around and ignored Yihua. Tang Yu waved her hand, and Voidless Realm soldiers disappeared from the sky. Everything returned back to normal, and other than the amusement park that was destroyed and God supporting heaven and earth that was destroyed, everything returned back to normal. Seeing that Voidless Realm had left, Do Fushi immediately left as well. Alright, everything has been settled. I even gave that God supporting heaven and earth a good beating, so the two of you should be able to calm down now, right? Yihua pinched onto the cheeks of his two wives, and the two wives turned their faces away and threw a tantrum. Yihua didn't stop them from throwing a tantrum. They were women, after all, throwing a tantrum at an appropriate time would be able to adjust their emotions. Let's go and take a look at today's hero. Yihua stood up and walked towards the outside of the plaza. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji hurriedly followed after Yihua, fearing that their husband might have cheated on them. Yihua was only admiring the attitude of soul separation when they were working, so how could he possibly have any thoughts about it? Chapter 655. Right now, I only have some thoughts about my sister-in-law. Adultery is a very interesting thing, and it is very hard for ordinary people to experience it. After all, one must first have the guts to do it, and one must also be prepared for the consequences of being exposed. Yihua arrived at the peak of the mountain, and Tang Yu and the others quickly appeared in front of him. Although Yihua was standing at the front, these people were serving the Empress, and in their hearts, the Empress was the master of Voidless Realm. Thus, they shouted out in unison, "Greetings to your majesty, greetings to Lord Yi." Qinya didn't have a position in Voidless Realm, so they didn't know what to shout out. Donghuang Baiji's expression changed and she said faintly, "You all did well." Everyone half kneeled on the ground and shouted out, "To serve your majesty, we will not hesitate to die." Tang Yu respectfully handed over the Purple Forest Pagoda. Yihua waved his hand, and the pagoda landed on his hand. "I have to release Li Hun from the pagoda, don't suffocate to death inside." Along with a flash of golden light, Li Hun's body appeared on the ground, and she seemed to have fainted. Since Li Hun was kept by the Purple Forest Pagoda, she would definitely suffer some damage, but in order to make the effect look more realistic, Yihua took out this treasure. Yihua threw out a golden light from his hand, and the golden light wrapped around Li Hun, and gradually, Li Hun opened her beautiful eyes. Yihua said faintly, "Don't move, just stay here." Li Hun took a look at Yihua confusedly. Sensing that the golden light was healing her, she sat cross-legged on the ground. Donghuang Baiji signaled Tang Yu to leave first. Tang Yu knew what to do and she immediately left. Not long later, Wei Chang brought Do Fushi to Voidless Realm, and the two kneeled on the ground one after another. "Subordinate greets your honor and madams." Yihua said lightly, "Stand up." Wei Chang and Do Fushi stood up, and when Do Fushi saw that Li Hun was sitting cross-legged and seemed to be fine, he felt relieved. "Do Fushi, you have to treat Li Hun well in the future, understand?" Qinya said sternly. Donghuang Baiji added, "If we find out that you treat her badly, we will break your legs." Do Fushi's face was completely dumbfounded. He had no idea why his two wives would have such a reaction. It seemed like they were treating him very specially. Could it be that soul departing had performed too well? "Don't worry, I will definitely take good care of Li Hun." Do Fushi would of course take good care of Li Hun. Yihua was slightly gratified. This great battle of floating world could be considered to be the one dragging the entire team down. However, his wife was ranked at the top of the team, and could be considered to have pulled up the average value of the team. Not long after, the golden light disappeared and drifting soul slowly opened her beautiful eyes. When she saw Do Fusher, her expression changed immediately. Little Do, Soul Leaf turned into a beautiful figure and hugged Do Fusher. She even kissed him passionately. Do Fusher was so frightened that he started shivering. Little Solhun, you have to look at the timing first. His honor is still here, this is too sloppy. Yihua also didn't expect that Soul departing would be so open-minded. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were also a bit surprised. This is too passionate, isn't it? Thinking about how I and Yihua haven't been this passionate for a very long time, seems like we are indeed an old married couple, and some of the passion has already disappeared. Wei Chang hurriedly coughed a few times. If the two of you want to be intimate, then go back home. To actually do it in front of his honor and me? Do Fusher finally released Soul Depari from his embrace, then hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Subordinate has lost self-control." Soul Depari held onto Do Fusher's arm with a complacent look on her face. Do Fusher hurriedly poked Soul Depari. At the very least, we shouldn't be this intimate in front of his honor. Soul Depari pouted her mouth and let go of Do Fusher, then looked at the man in front of her and the purple forest pagoda that was in Do Fusher's hand. Soul Depari, you did well today, I admire you. Yihua praised Soul Depari with words. This caused even Wei Chang to feel envious. It has been a very long time since his honor praised me. Soul Depari still didn't understand the value of praise, and thus she could only say, "Thank you, your honor. From today onwards, the two of you will stay in Voidless Realm for the time being, and do not show your face," Yihua said faintly. Soul Depari definitely cannot leave Voidless Realm. If she were to be discovered by Yihua, all of Yihua's efforts would be wasted. After all, Soul Depari was just too outstanding, and the plum blossom imprint on her forehead was also very easy to recognize. The two said respectfully, "Yes. Go and rest," Yihua said lightly. Hearing that Yihua was going to let them go, Soul Depari became extremely excited. She pulled Do Fusher and ran madly while shouting out loudly, "Little Dao, I want it." After Yihua and Wei Chang heard this, the corner of their mouths twitched. This woman is indeed unrestrained. "Your honor, subordinate will return first," Wei Chang said. Yihua nodded his head. After Wei Chang left, Yihua looked at the two women and said gravely, "Look at how sensible Soul Depari is, the two of you are really making me." Yihua didn't know what to say anymore. To think that I would actually be depressed by my underlings. Look at how proactive Soul Depari is, and what about you two? It's as if you two are afraid that I will make a single move. Sigh. Sister-in-law is still the best. Looking at their husband leaving, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji stamped their feet. "Your wife, we're still pregnant, what else do you want to do? It's not like we haven't accompanied you before. Qingya, it seems like after we give birth to this child, we have to properly stabilize Yihua," Donghuang Baiji said solemnly. "All men have needs, and we can't possibly let the Supreme Overlord fulfill his dreams with his own hands, right?" Qingya nodded her head. "And when the time comes, we will do it together. Yihua will be happy." Of course he will be happy, he wants to do it even in his dreams. When the two women thought of that scene, they felt a bit embarrassed. Right now, Yihua went to look for Qin Yutong to have a clandestine love affair. Yutong is becoming more and more favored by me, and her skills are also becoming more and more proficient. If Yihua were to be given a score, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji could only get a total of 100 points, while Qin Yutong alone would get a total of 100 points. After all, both Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were on the side of enjoyment, and they wouldn't take too much initiative. On the other hand, Qin Yutong was different, she would do her utmost to make Yihua feel comfortable. That's why, no matter how good a wife is, it is still not as good as a sister-in-law. On the other side, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin ordered people to clean up the battlefield. Qin Qiandi, who was hammered unconscious, was sent to the People's Hospital for treatment. However, everyone seemed to have forgotten about this brave warrior who was hammered unconscious, and all of them were shouting, "Long live Voidless Realm." Very quickly, Qin Qiandi woke up and asked Do Fusher to bring him back. Why did he come to the hospital? Lunatics. Do cultivators even need to go to the hospital? What are your brains made of? After transporting Qin Qiandi into the house, Feng Tian, who was wrapped up like a mummy, came to Qin Qiandi's house to take a look. Chapter 656. Feng Tian took a deep breath, turned around and walked out of the room. Qing Tian's mentality was much better than Feng Tian's. They were both beaten up by a woman, but why was there such a big difference? Yi Zizi was just a child, which made Feng Tian feel ashamed to be defeated by a child. Qing Tian didn't look disappointed, and it was normal. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were confused. How could he maintain such a mentality after being beaten up like this? Qing Tian naturally had his reasons. You guys go out first, Qing Tian said. Wang Debao tried to persuade him. Brother Qing, don't be discouraged. Don't do anything stupid. Qing Tiandi was infuriated by these words and bellowed, "Scram!" Wang Debao was relieved. This was a normal reaction. The couple walked out of the bedroom and Qing Tian frowned. After a long time, he took a deep breath as if he had made a decision. The quilt on Qing Tian's body was lifted, and the bandages on his body exploded. The color of his limbs was black. How vicious! Qing Tian's eyes focused. A pair of Qilin arms floated in the air, emitting terrifying spiritual energy. Thick blue veins could be seen on the sturdy muscles, and there was a tattoo on the arms that shone with red light. Suddenly, another pair of feet appeared. It was obvious that the feet belonged to an animal, but they were definitely not Qilin feet. They looked more like pig trotters. Don't be fooled by the appearance. These were treasures that Qing Tian got. They were the feet of an ancient divine beast, and their power was shocking. In fact, Qing Tian had wanted to change them for a long time, but he didn't have the guts. Now that his limbs were crippled, he had to change them if he wanted to stand up. Looking at the floating limbs, Qing Tian made up his mind and released a strong wind. Whoosh, whoosh. Qing Tian used his own wind to cut off his limbs, and the white bed was instantly dyed red. Qing Tian frowned, gritted his teeth and didn't say a word. Under Qing Tian's control, the limbs fell down and connected to the wounds. A green curtain of light surrounded the joints of his limbs. Holding up the heavens, Tiandi closed his eyes and attentively experienced this huge power. After an unknown period of time, heaven and earth suddenly opened their eyes. If anyone saw them, they would definitely be shocked. That was because those eyes were no longer the pupils of a human, but those of a feline. Even though it was a little ugly, its strength was dozens of times greater than before. If he were to face Soul Wandering again, he would definitely be able to crush her with a single punch. Standing up, Yi Zichen looked at his own legs and hooves. This was a little hard to accept, but what else could he do? This hatred. He had to report it. Heaven and earth clenched his fists tightly, causing the air to explode. It could be seen that heaven and earth's strength had reached an unimaginable level. Meanwhile, Qing Tiandi stood up for a bit, then continued to lie on the bed, seemingly wanting to pretend to be disabled. He was indeed a scheming man. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were already in the car. They were shocked to see how badly the Titan King had been tortured. Honey, what do we do? The Righteous Alliance and the Peace Association are going to take the blame. Wang Debao was very worried because Voidless Realms people said that I was framed. Who framed me? It is definitely those two organizations. Voidless Realm did not stand out to explain because they felt disdain towards Voidless Realm. At the same time, Voidless Realm had also displayed their absolute strength. Voidless Realm easily solved the problem that the two organizations were unable to solve. Bai Cixin was also deeply aware of this point. Right now, heaven and earth is most likely done for. Furthermore, a lot of higher-ups died this time and heaven and earth's strength had instantly dropped by a few levels. Voidless Realm is so strong, how is it possible for me to defeat them? I am unable to defeat Voidless Realm at all. If I want to defeat Voidless Realm, I definitely have to find another way. At this moment, Bai Cixin thought of Bureau Chief Shi. I wonder if he has a way to defeat Voidless Realm. Honey? What are you thinking about? You can't be thinking about how to defeat Voidless Realm, right? Wang Debao was very worried about his wife. I am unable to defeat Voidless Realm at all. Seeing that his wife was not saying anything, Wang Debao continued to persuade, Honey, Voidless Realm is indeed cruel to us, but you have also seen it today, their strength is already far beyond our imagination. Who knows if there is someone even more powerful than them? It is better for us to swallow this humiliation. If Bai Cixin had listened to her husband's persuasion, the following tragedy definitely wouldn't have happened. Debao, I can't swallow this humiliation. I really can't swallow this humiliation. A single sentence from Voidless Realm ruined my entire life's hard work. I am unwilling to accept this. Bai Cixin's hatred towards Voidless Realm was already very high. If I don't get revenge for Voidless Realm, I reckon that I won't be happy for the rest of my life. Hearing what his wife said, Wang Debao knew that he wouldn't be able to persuade his wife. Meanwhile, Bai Cixin took out her phone and called Shi Jingyao. Bureau Chief Shi, how about we meet? Bai Cixin said gravely. Shi Jingyao was currently playing a QQ game, and when he heard Bai Cixin's words, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Alright, where is it? High Ocean City Plaza's KFC. Alright, I haven't eaten hamburgers for a long time. After hanging up the phone, the husband and wife headed straight to KFC. On the way, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin didn't speak. Bai Cixin, who was driving, said lightly, Debao, I'm sorry. Wang Debao let out a light breath, then squeezed out a smile. We have already been husband and wife for so many years, there is no need to apologize. Debao, let's divorce. In actuality, Bai Cixin had thought about it for a very long time. If her husband were to follow her, he would only be implicated by Voidless Realm. Against a huge machine like Voidless Realm, if Voidless Realm is even slightly careless, Voidless Realm would end up dying without a burial ground. Her husband had sacrificed too much for her. Wang Debao was dumbfounded when he heard that. His expression turned ferocious. Bai Cixin, what bullshit are you talking about? Is your brain filled with shit? Debao, you should know what I mean. I'm just too domineering, Bai Cixin said helplessly. I just like how strong you are. I'm cheap, okay? Wang Debao angrily rebuked. They had been husband and wife for so many years, yet she actually wanted him to leave at such a crucial moment. How could she be a coward? When Bai Cixin heard her husband's words, tears flowed out of her eyes. She stopped the car by the roadside, sat on her husband's lap, and kissed him madly. She was even pulling up his pants. *CK wife, calm down, this is the side of the road. Wang Debao exclaimed, did she have to be so fierce? Bai Cixin could be seen waving her hand, and the entire car seemed to have become invisible. Then the car continued moving forward. Honey, you even have an appointment with Director Shi? It's okay. You're fast. Wang Debao was speechless. Chapter 657. However, when he saw his wife leaning down, Wang Debao exploded. 5 minutes later, Bai Cixin continued to drive, and Wang Debao's face was filled with despair. I can't live on anymore. Meanwhile, Bai Cixin, who was driving, had a trace of a smile on her face. The two arrived at KFC very quickly. Bai Cixin held onto Wang Debao's arm and walked into the KFC. The two looked like a perfect couple. However, Wang Debao's mood wasn't very good. I was too fast just now. The main reason is because my wife has great martial arts. The two chose a seat, ordered some things, and waited quietly. Wife, I feel that Bureau Chief Shi won't be able to do anything to Voidless Realm. Wang Debao said faintly while eating a French fry. Bai Cixin drank the cola and said softly, let's ask him first. Wang Debao nodded his head. I can only do this for now. In just a few minutes, Shi Jingyao appeared. Today he was wearing formal clothes, a black suit, and looked very spirited. Miss Bai, Mr. Wang. Shi Jingyao greeted with a light smile, then sat opposite of the two. He didn't stand on ceremony and took a bite of the chicken burger. Feels pretty good. Bureau Chief Shi is so handsome today. Bai Cixin laughed. Facing a beauty's praise, I usually won't be modest. Shi Jingyao laughed lightly. Wang Debao's face sunk. He actually dared to tease my wife right in front of me. Bureau Chief Shi, I will just say it directly. Bai Cixin didn't care about this. Taking down Voidless Realm is the main thing. Shi Jingyao placed down the burger in his hand and asked curiously, Miss Bai, did you encounter some difficulties? My request is a bit too much, but I still want to ask Bureau Chief Shi. Shi Jingyao was also very curious. What request? Bureau Chief Shi, do you have any opinion on Voidless Realm? Bai Cixin asked in a low voice. Shi Jingyao's brows gradually wrinkled, then laughed lightly. My spacetime branch is only in charge of catching illegal immigrants, and it doesn't participate in worldly fights. Oh, so that's the case. Then sorry for disturbing Bureau Chief Shi's time. Bai Cixin revealed a look of disappointment. Shi Jingyao isn't interested at all. Is Voidless Realm really that powerful? Shi Jingyao took the cola and took a breath. Miss Bai, do you want to get rid of Voidless Realm? That's right. Bai Cixin didn't hide anything and said directly. Then what can Miss Bai give me? Shi Jingyao asked. When he heard this, hope flashed across Bai Cixin's disappointed eyes. Even Wang Debao, who was beside him, became serious. Bai Cixin asked happily, what do you want, Director Shi? Actually, what I want is very simple. I hope that the two of you can work under me. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao were a little stunned when they heard such a simple request, because it was really too simple. Compared to their own request, it was like heaven and earth. Bai Cixin asked earnestly, Bureau Chief Shi, do you have any way to bring down Voidless Realm? You don't have to worry about that. I have my own ways. Shi Jingyao's expression was brimming with confidence. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao's hearts were in their mouths. I'm very curious as to how Shi Jingyao is going to bring down Voidless Realm. Of course, Shi Jingyao wouldn't rely on his own strength. That was impossible. But if it was the Chief Bureau Chief, then it would be a different story. Right now, Shi Jingyao received a clear news that Chief Bureau Chief Jianghu was coming over to inspect the work. I won't be able to explain my work, but I need a scapegoat, right? That Voidless Realm's Empress's man is a stowaway. Although his strength isn't clear compared to the Chief Bureau Chief, his strength should be a lot inferior. Besides, this time it's not like the Chief Bureau Chief is coming alone. I heard that there are a few higher-ups coming with him. With their strength, isn't it just a matter of time for them to bring down Voidless Realm? Of course, adding oil to the fire was inevitable. After finishing eating the burger in his hand, Shi Jingyao wiped his hands and stood up. You two enjoy yourselves, I won't be accompanying you. Bureau Chief Shi, thank you. Miss Bai, I look forward to your performance in the future. After finished speaking, Shi Jingyao left. The husband and wife took a look at each other, and their gazes were filled with doubt. Wife, this Bureau Chief Shi isn't lying to us, right? Wang Debao asked gravely. Because the matter was too simple to the point that they couldn't understand it. Bai Cixin also couldn't understand Shi Jingyao, and she said lightly, what benefit does he get from lying to us? He only wants us to join him. That's right, why are these people so weird? I can't catch up with them at all. Wang Debao felt that Qing Tian was like this and Shi Jingyao was the same as well. I really can't understand the thoughts of these powerful individuals. Furthermore, to poke a hornet's nest for the sake of two strangers doesn't seem to be logical. Or could it be that Shi Jingyao was planning to take action from the start, and I just happened to bump into the muzzle of the gun? The husband and wife seemed to have thought of the same thing, and they looked at each other with a surprised gaze. After living together for so long, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin had a telepathic connection, and they knew what the other was thinking. Seems like I was still too impatient. Bai Cixin shook her head. If Shi Jingyao had planned to do this from the start, our request for help could only be said to be a delivery. Wang Debao hugged onto his wife. Forget it, if I am able to fulfill your wish, I am willing to do anything for you. Debao, why are you so good to me? Are you stupid? You are my wife, if I don't treat you well, who should I treat well to? Bai Cixin smiled tenderly and snuggled into her husband's embrace, feeling the warmth of his embrace. Yihua probably didn't expect that he would be able to meet an acquaintance so soon, and furthermore, it was an acquaintance that was so far away from him. Right now, Yihua was lying on the bed with a tablet in his hand, and Qing Yutong was pouting her small mouth while leaning on the bed. Brother-in-law, am I not as good-looking as a tablet? Qing Yutong asked sweetly. Looking at brother-in-law's side profile, he is simply too handsome. Yihua didn't reply and looked at the various big news. All of the headlines were in Voidless Realm's favor. There were even some people who said that Justice Alliance and Peace Association were useless, and that Voidless Realm still needed to step out and stop them during crucial times. There were also some people who said that these two organizations were big swindlers, causing everyone to misunderstand Voidless Realm. There were also some experts who suggested that those 300,000 people weren't killed by Voidless Realm, but rather they were killed by the spiritual creatures in the desert. This kind of conclusion received the approval of many people. A large wave of trolls began supporting Voidless Realm, then started scolding the two organizations. This caused Yihua to laugh. Qing Tian, you want to fight against me, on what basis? With just a little bit of calculation, all of your schemes would have collapsed. What else can you do right now? If I were to make a move, you might die comfortably, but as long as I use my brain, you might not even know what kind of terror you are going to experience. Chapter 658. Yihua turned off the tablet, and in his mind he was thinking about what God Qing Tian would do next. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope that this God Qing Tian will not disappoint me too much, and that he will pull himself together and fight against me. Brother-in-law. In the end, you didn't even listen to what I said. Qing Yutong directly rode on Yihua's body. As expected of a female knight. Nonsense, come down. No. Are you coming down or not? Nope. Sometimes Yihua quite liked Qing Yutong's fearless personality. If it was Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, they would have long since gotten off the bed. patting onto his sister-in-laws, but Yi Hua said in a low voice, "All right, quickly come down." This time, Qin Yutong knew that it was time to come down, and she showed that it was time to stop. "Brother-in-law, big sister and big sister Baiji's palace is just beside us. Aren't you afraid?" Qin Yutong asked curiously, while her delicate hands tightly hugged onto Yi Hua's arm. Yi Hua sneered, "Would I be afraid of them? What a joke." "Really?" Qin Yutong teased. "Nonsense, I am a man with an indomitable spirit. There is no such thing as being afraid of my wife." Right after Yi Hua finished speaking, Qin Ye's voice rang out from outside, "Yutong, big sister has come in." "Holy shit. Brother-in-law, run." Yi Hua wasn't in a hurry to think too much. Picking up his clothes and shoes, he instantly disappeared from the bed. Not only that, he didn't forget to take away his tablet. Looking at brother-in-law's hurried expression, Qin Yutong held back her laughter. "And you still say that you are not afraid?" Brother-in-law was good at everything, but he was stubborn and liked to show off. Right now Yi Hua was panicking to death. "I've never panicked like this before and I'm really scared now." This was the first time that Yi Hua felt such a peculiar emotion, and it caused Yi Hua to feel very excited. Is this the feeling of fear? As expected, this feeling is very powerful. I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to continue having a clandestine love affair. This is 2F** King exciting. Qin Yutong immediately lied down and pretended to be asleep. "Yutong?" Qin Ye looked at her little sister who was currently sleeping and called out lightly. As expected of a movie empress, Qin Yutong slightly opened her hazy eyes. "Big sister, what's wrong? Have you seen your brother-in-law?" Qin Ye asked curiously. "Right after Baiji finished lecturing me, she and Baiji disappeared. I don't know where they went." Qin Yutong said helplessly, "Why did you come over to my place to look for brother-in-law? I really have to give it to you." Qin Ye laughed dryly. "All right, you are still sleeping in the middle of the day, quickly wake up." "Don't want to, women should sleep more, only then would they be able to maintain their appearance." Qin Yutong turned her body over and continued to pretend to be asleep. Qin Ye shook her head, then turned around and left. Right now, Yi Hua was currently sitting in the bedroom on the second floor of Leisure Bar. While wearing his clothes, Yi Hua had a panicked look on his face. If he was caught on the spot, they would probably want to kill him. After putting on his clothes, Yi Hua was thinking about where to go and stabilizing his state of mind. Right now he was still a bit anxious. Speaking of which, it has been a long time since I went to check on Absolute Heaven's situation. I wonder how he is doing now. They arrived at the Dongfang family's house. A strange sound rang out. This should be the miserable cry of a cat, right? Has Zhu Tian woken up? Just when Yi Hua was feeling puzzled, a cat rushed up to the eaves of the house in a panic. There were 3 women chasing after him. "Be good, Zhu Tian, we will help you, Bei," Dongfang Yuer called out softly. Brett glared at Zhu Tian. "Zhu Tian, come down, don't force me to come and catch you." "Zhu Tian, my little darling, quickly come into my embrace," Guan Yanxin said teasingly. Zhu Tian stood on the roof and shivered. "Ever since I woke up, the days have become more and more torturous. These 3 women are simply inhumane, to the point that I nearly suffered internal injuries. They even used fish to tempt me. Do they really think that I am a cat? Zhu Tian, if you don't come down, I am going to get angry. Smell your body, you are smelling." Brett placed her hands on her waist and shouted out. Meow, Imperial translation, scram. "I don't want to come down." They even said that their bodies smelled, and that they had to bathe 3 times a day. Furthermore, they even used a super strong hair dryer, and their hair dryer made their heads dizzy. After the hair dryer was done, they would play with me and completely treat me as a pet. When I sleep at night, I nearly suffocate to death because of the 3 women. I really can't continue living like this. Zhu Tian, you forced me to do this. Brett shouted out and her figure flashed. Zhu Tian, who had lost his strength, was completely at the mercy of Brett. He was completely not Brett's opponent, and Zhu Tian was completely unable to escape. Zhu Tian, who was being carried in Brett's embrace, shouted out for help. When he saw his honor's figure, it was as if he had seen hope, and his cry became even more ear-piercing. Brett and the other 2 women also saw his honor, and they immediately prostrated themselves on the ground and shouted out, "Subordinates, greet his honor." After Brett loosened her grip, Zhu Tian ran towards Yi Hua without any regard for his life, then hugged onto Yi Hua's thigh while looking at the 3 women vigilantly. "Savage. This is too goddamn savage. Why didn't I discover that they have such a fetish in the past?" Seeing that Zhu Tian was being bullied like this, Yi Hua felt at ease. Men, if they don't get bullied by women, they wouldn't know what their surname is. Just like me, do they dare to do this? Even if I gave them a few hundred times more courage, they still wouldn't dare to go against me. What happened just now was just a strategic retreat. What are you all doing? Yihua asked faintly. Brett said respectfully, Your Honor, we were just about to bathe Ju Tian, but Ju Tian isn't willing to bathe. Meow, Imperial Translation. Your Honor, what they are doing isn't bathing, what they are doing is raping themselves. Ju Tian's body is about to be ruined by them. Yihua grabbed onto Ju Tian's neck and lifted him up, then said gravely, Ju Tian isn't even willing to bathe, what are you trying to do? Ju Tian was in despair right now. Looking at His Honor's attitude, it seems like His Honor doesn't plan to help me at all. Your Honor, I am your subordinate, the brains of the team. If I were to be ruined by them, how am I supposed to give you advice and suggestions in the future? Yihua tossed Ju Tian away, and the pitiful Ju Tian let out a miserable shriek in midair, then turned into an arc and landed into Brett's embrace. Thank you, Your Honor. Brett had a joyous look on his face as he pinched onto Ju Tian's cheeks, then held onto Ju Tian. Ju Tian felt that he was about to suffocate. This woman is completely taking revenge on me. If I am late, I will die in battle. Your Honor, you are about to lose your subordinate. Looking at the three women who were pinching onto Ju Tian's cheeks, Yihua paused for a moment. Ju Tian, you have been bullying others for so long, you should at least let them vent their anger, right? Don't blame me, I am doing this for your own good, Ju Tian. Listening to Ju Tian's miserable shriek, Yihua disappeared from the scene. I don't even know where he went. I feel very bored. I really wish that a powerful opponent would appear, but it's a pity that the heavens don't give me this hope, causing me to be unable to even fight against them. My strength is too weak. The only ones who are able to fight against me are my subordinates. Should I drag Yi Zizi over to fight with me? I'm getting a bit bored. Chapter 659. After returning back to Leisure Bar, Yihua really went to look for Yi Zizi. Upon opening the door, Yi Zizi could be seen playing games, and at the side, a husky could be seen. Yun Lang now enjoyed this kind of life very much. He ate and slept, slept and ate. At night, he would go out for a stroll and tease the female dogs. His days were carefree. This kind of situation was very similar to Lai Gu's situation at that time. What's wrong with being a dog? Don't feel like you're making a fool of yourself. You have to feel honored and everything will be perfect. What game? Go and fight with me. Yihua, who was sitting at the side, said faintly. Yi Zizi slanted her eyes and looked at His Honor, then continued playing her game. Don't. Yi Zizi, your guts have grown big now to actually dare to go against my order. Yihua said gravely. Yi Zizi went into a daze for a moment, then took off her earphones and threw herself into Yihua's embrace. Using her small fist, she pounded on Yihua's chest, then continued playing her game. All right, I'm done. Yihua. Yi Zizi. Yihua shouted out lightly. This is too outrageous. Your Honor, it's not like I can defeat you, so don't bully me. Yi Zizi would definitely not make a move against His Honor. What happened last time was an accident, that's why she went to attack His Honor without any regard for her life. Now that her brain has returned to normal, how could she possibly make a move against His Honor? This was insubordination, and he wouldn't be able to use his true strength in battle, which made it even more impossible for him to win. Yihua laid on his sister-in-law's bed and lit up a cigarette. He also knew why Yi Zizi didn't want to fight with him. Yi Zizi took a peek at His Honor, then said in a low voice, His Honor, we are already bored to death, we might as well head over earlier. Only then will we be able to start working on the other side. Yi Zizi's suggestion was indeed very tempting. It wasn't that Yihua didn't think about it before, but he wanted to wait until the children grew up before going back to the city. It was still too early for him to go back now. Play your game. The plan remains the same. Yihua said faintly. I don't have the mood to smoke anymore. After extinguishing the cigarette, I actually lied on the bed and went to sleep. Yi Zizi sighed. Other than games, there was nothing else that could make her happy. She really hoped that these 5 years would pass quickly. It was so boring. Yi Zizi wasn't the only one who felt this way. All the other subordinates felt the same way. They were bored to the point of exploding and their bodies were uncomfortable. In the following month, Yihua continued to be bored. From time to time, he would have a clandestine love affair with his sister-in-law, looking for excitement, then wait for others to come and look for trouble. But here came the problem. Right now, Voidless Realm's image is right. In other words, since no one came to look for trouble, why would I bother to do anything? Although I made Qing Tian feel pain, it also made me feel very gloomy. This is truly annoying. I can only look for my sister-in-law to vent my anger. Right now, Qin Yutong was especially good at making Yihua happy. She was as obedient as a kitten, and she would do whatever Yihua wanted her to do. Qin Yutong was completely enjoying the life of a goddess, and this was a happiness that Qin Yutong was unable to enjoy with Qinya and Donghuang Baiji. Qin Yutong is completely different from Qinya and Donghuang Baiji, and this made me rather happy. I didn't take this sister-in-law for nothing. However, Qin Yutong was gloomy. After doing so many things, brother-in-law just doesn't want to take a look at me, and this is very annoying. He only cares about his own comfort, and doesn't even think about his sister-in-law's feelings. And on this day something big was about to happen. The people from Time and Space Administration came to inspect the work, and Shi Jingyao brought everyone to respectfully wait for the arrival of the bureau chief. However, what no one expected was that the location of the Time and Space Administration's office was actually very ordinary, and it was just an ordinary office building. 3 Qian could be seen driving over from afar, and Shi Jingyao became even more reserved. Wuxia, who was behind Shi Jingyao, had his head lowered and was sizing up the bureau chief with his peripheral vision. I wonder what kind of person the bureau chief is. As the Qian steadily stopped downstairs, Shi Jingyao took the lead and walked out of the Qian and opened the door of the Qian. After that, a few guards came down from the Qian, and the guards who were dressed in clothes that were not too fashionable. 2 familiar faces walked down from the Qian. If Yihua was here, he would definitely recognize them. One of them was the Bureau Chief of Time and Space Administration, Jianghu, and the other one was one of the 3 martial kings, Zhuanghong. This planet sure is backward. After Zhuanghong got off the Qian, he said lightly with a look of disdain on his face. After hearing what Zhuanghong said, Shi Jingyao didn't know what to say. However, thinking about how Shi Jingyao was able to sit in the same car as the Bureau Chief, Shi Jingyao's status should be very high. "Hello, Bureau Chief, I am the person in charge, Shi Jingyao." Shi Jingyao said respectfully to Jianghu, who remained silent. Before Jianghu could say anything, Zhuanghong, who was at the side, said with a smile, "Shi Jingyao, this name of yours is a bit interesting." Shi Jingyao had an awkward look on his face. This time he really didn't know what to say. These people are definitely not people that he can afford to offend. Jianghu stood with his hands behind his back and said indifferently, "Lead the way and go in to take a look." "This way please, Bureau Chief." Shi Jingyao leaned forward and said. Jianghu and Zhuanghong walked at the front, and behind them were the guards. Of course, there was also Shi Jingyao, Wu Lu, and the others who were trembling with fear. Zhuanghong walked beside Jianghu, leaned forward and said, "To think that you would want to come and visit this kind of trash planet, you are really suffering. Can you not speak?" Jianghu frowned. Originally, coming out for an inspection had nothing to do with Zhuanghong, but the president insisted that Zhuanghong come along with him. He said that it was to take care of Zhuanghong, but in actuality, it was to monitor Zhuanghong. Seems like after that incident, the president's trust in me has plummeted. This is not good at all. When I came out for an inspection, the president even sent someone to follow me and chattered non-stop on the way. Zhuanghong laughed and said disapprovingly, "Bureau Chief Ji, if you have a burning temper, then go and settle it. Although this planet is a bit backward, there are still women here. Don't hold it in." Jianghu took a deep breath. He was obviously very angry. Seeing that Jianghu was so angry that he did not speak, Zhuanghong did not continue to be angry. It was enough to stop. Shi Jingyao followed behind and heard a little. Who was this man? He actually did not care about Bureau Chief Ji, and Bureau Chief Ji seemed to be unwilling to pay attention to him. But was he unwilling to pay attention to him, or did he not dare to pay attention to him? Shi Jingyao could not figure it out. It was better not to care about these high-level matters. He just had to prepare his next words. The group of people went upstairs under the strange gazes of others. "Bureau Chief Ji, please. Bring me to see," Jianghu said lightly. Shi Jingyao originally wanted to curry favor, but he did not expect Bureau Chief Ji to directly want to see his work situation. It seemed that he was not so easy to fool. The group went straight to the office. "Bureau Chief Ji, please sit," Shi Jingyao said respectfully. Jianghu sat on the boss's chair and opened the system with great familiarity. He slowly checked. Shi Jingyao stood at the side, trembling with fear as he waited for the lecture. Zhuanghong sat at the side, drinking tea with a smile on his face. "Bureau Chief Shi," Jianghu said lightly. Shi Jingyao was shocked and hurriedly asked, "What instructions does Bureau Chief Ji have?" "There is a problem with your work." Jianghu turned off the system and sternly reprimanded him. Chapter 660. This was within Shi Jing'ao's expectations. Were the people he caught all these years small? Sheathing the saber, fearfully helping to dispel evil. Retraction? Pull out the vinegar arpeggios ring from Gamma? Fine wood convex aluminium. Shi Jing'ao hurriedly explained. Director General G, you might not know this, but there's a lack of manpower here and the benefits aren't good, so many people aren't willing to work here. The higher-ups said that they're going to distribute equipment, but we haven't seen anything yet. You haven't sent it yet? Jiang asked in a deep voice. Yeah, I've been dragging it out. Zhuang Hong laughed lightly. This time and space branch of yours is really corrupt, there's a level of scam, and there's no more scam after reaching here, or could it be? Bureau Chief Ji, what about you? Zhuang Hong. That's enough. Jiang shouted at Zhuang Hong. He didn't know how many bad things he would say to the president this time. Director Ji, why are you angry? This is normal. Zhuang Hong ignored it and continued. Jiang wanted nothing more than to stab Zhuang Hong to death. Shi Jing'ao seemed to know something. Could it be that this man was here to supervise? Therefore, Director Ji did not dare to provoke him. After a while, Jiang calmed down and continued to ask, even if there were problems with the equipment and benefits, there shouldn't be such a small result. Director General Ji, you may not know this, but although this planet is backward, it is located in the center of space-time chaos. Countless illegal immigrants choose to come here, so the situation is very complicated. There are countless powerhouses, and our branch has also suffered heavy casualties. Hearing Shi Jing'ao's words, Zhuang Hong smiled disdainfully. What powerful people. That's just an excuse. No matter how powerful the smugglers are, they are more than enough to deal with them with your strength. Could it be that Director Ji allowed them to do as they pleased? Bang. Jiang slammed the table. Zhuang Hong. Do you believe that I won't sue you in front of the president? Yo, you're already angry? Looks like you have a guilty conscience. Shi Jing'ao felt that his chance had come. He said respectfully, Sir, it's true. There are many powerful people on this planet. It's not a lie. Can you give me an example? Zhuang Hong asked curiously. Voidless Realm is the strongest power on this planet, and there are stowaways within Voidless Realm as well. However, I can only watch from the side. Shi Jing'ao seemed like he wanted to pat on his chest and shout out that he was powerless. Zhuang Hong crossed his legs and said with a smile, Chief Ji, your subordinate is in trouble, so you should help him out no matter what. I've been here for the past few months and I've been bored out of my mind. Why don't you exercise a little so that you can show off your power in front of your subordinate? Jiang's chest heaved up and down. He really wanted to chop off Zhuang Hong's head so that the world would be at peace. When Shi Jing'ao heard what Voidless Realm said, he felt very comfortable in his heart. If the two of them were to take action, they would definitely be able to bring down Voidless Realm. As for why Shi Jing'ao wanted to get rid of Voidless Realm, it was because Shi Jing'ao felt that Voidless Realm's prestige was getting bigger and bigger, to the point that Voidless Realm's prestige had even surpassed Spacetime Branch. In the past, the three big powers were all silent and didn't pay any attention to Voidless Realm, and everyone felt that they were all on equal footing. However, the situation right now was different. Voidless Realm was already in an overwhelming situation, and this was something that Shi Jing'ao did not want to see. Therefore, he wanted to borrow other people's hands to bring down Voidless Realm. This way, his position would be much more stable. This was actually a kind of psychological stability. After all, Spacetime Branch cannot be exposed, but Shi Jing'ao did not want to see other people become stronger, because that would make him seem very incompetent. Are you done talking? Jiang shouted gravely. Zhuang Hong drank a mouthful of tea with an indifferent expression on his face. That branch's chief, do you think what I said just now is correct? Shi Jing'ao hurriedly shut his mouth. It's better for me to not get involved in this kind of fight between deities. However, I still approve of what Zhuang Hong said in my heart. I just want you guys to take action, but I can't say it out loud. How could Jiang possibly get involved in this kind of work? However, hearing what Zhuang Hong said, Jiang felt extremely displeased. Furthermore, recently, I have already been suppressing a stomach full of anger. Even if I don't teach this Zhuang Hong a lesson, I have to teach someone else a lesson to vent my anger. Sure. Zhuang Hong, you go and practice. A hint of fierceness flashed past Jiang's eyes. If I were to be sacrificed during the fight, that would truly be a pleasant surprise. Thinking up to here, Jiang seemed to have made a decision. If I were to let this Zhuang Hong go, this Zhuang Hong might say bad things about me in front of the president. I might as well just get rid of him. Furthermore, I was the one who suggested this. It is inevitable that there will be deaths and injuries during the fight. When the time comes, if I were to make a move, this Zhuang Hong will definitely lose his life on this so-called trash planet. With our Chief Ji taking action, all of the problems will not be a problem. What do you think, Chief Ji? Zhuang Hong laughed lightly, and a trace of malicious intent could be seen hidden within the depths of his eyes. From the looks of it, this Zhuang Hong was not only here to supervise the fight, there seems to be some other purpose in it. This Jianghu wants to kill Zhuang Hong, and this Zhuang Hong might also want to kill Jianghu. Or this might even be the president's order. If not, why would this Zhuang Hong keep provoking Jianghu? Therefore, there should be some sort of conspiracy. Shi Jingyao is definitely unable to understand the reasoning behind this. As long as they are willing to go, it will be fine, there is nothing to worry about. Of course, with Chief Ji taking action, everyone will have to give way. Shi Jingyao naturally had to bootlick Jianghu. Getting a promotion is not a delusion anymore. Jianghu asked gravely, what is the background of this voidless realm? Voidless realm is one of the 3 big powers on this planet, and their history is very long as well. The leader of voidless realm is a woman, and her man is a stowaway. Hearing that, Zhuang Hong laughed loudly. Their history is very long. Is it as long as ours? Shi Jingyao said respectfully, naturally their history is not as long as ours. Jianghu stood up and said gravely, then let's go and settle this matter. I'll let you exercise your muscles and bones. Let's go and stretch our muscles and bones. Zhuang Hong stood up and shrugged his shoulders. Shi Jingyao said hurriedly, Chief Ji, don't you need to understand the situation a bit more? Without waiting for Jianghu to speak, Zhuang Hong said straightforwardly, understand the situation? Is that a dangerous place? Or is it a place of no return? Young man, you are thinking too much. In the entire Milky Way galaxy, who is able to? Before Zhuang Hong could finish speaking, he froze. Jianghu sneered, who is able to? The corner of Zhuang Hong's mouth twitched slightly, and very quickly he thought back to that day. That day was the day of national humiliation. The entire Blue Blaze planet was suppressed by a single man, and the entire Blue Blaze planet was unable to retaliate at all, and even the president was forced to kneel down. Just what kind of humiliation was that? It was practically like putting down one's dignity and fiercely rubbing against the ground. Looking at the two's reaction, Shi Jingyao was very puzzled. What is going on? Fear and unwillingness seemed to be present on their faces. Lead the way. Jianghu said faintly. If Jianghu were to know that the person he is messing with this time is that man, his expression would probably be very interesting. Chapter 661. Within Voidless Realm. Right now Yihua was in Qin Yutong's palace. In the past month, the amount of time that he spent with his sister-in-law was more than the amount of time that he spent with his 2 wives. Seems like Qin Yutong really knows how to make men happy. Brother-in-law, is it comfortable? Qin Yutong bit onto her cherry lips and asked sweetly. Yihua enjoyed it very much and said faintly, not bad, recently my technology has improved again. I don't feel anything when it is slightly heavier. Alright. Move down a bit and then a bit more gently. Yihua closed his eyes and he seemed to be really comfortable. Qin Yutong followed Yihua's instructions and moved downwards, then asked, brother-in-law, is it comfortable? Yes, very comfortable. This is a newly learned martial art. Qin Yutong was very complacent and began to show off. Yihua sighed with emotion. If only your big sister and Baiji were half as attentive as you, I wouldn't have ended up like this. If big sister and the others are interested, then wouldn't I not have a chance? Qin Yutong pouted her mouth. Yihua said gravely, don't talk, do your work properly. What's the relationship between me giving you a massage and me talking? Yihua could be seen sitting on the chair, while Qin Yutong was standing behind him and lightly massaging with her hands. Of course it's related. I have to experience it carefully. Qin Yutong slightly lowered her head and whispered into Yihua's ears, brother-in-law, how about we go to the bed? Yutong has learned a lot of tricks. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched as he said helplessly, are you trying to suck me to death? Right when Qin Yutong was preparing to act coquettishly, the sound of Qinya and Donghuang Baiji's footsteps rang out from outside the door. The two of them maintained the same posture, and it seems like they did not do anything shameful. Seeing the appearance of her husband and sister, Qinya went into a daze for a moment, but very quickly she adjusted herself. This kind of thing had happened before, and it was nothing more than Yihua letting his sister massage his shoulders, exercising his right as a brother-in-law. What are you rushing over here for? Yihua picked up a grape, peeled off the skin and placed it into his mouth. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows, it seemed like he was a bit sour. Qing Yutong was also tactful, and when she saw that her big sister had arrived, she also sat at the side. Donghuang Baiji sat beside Yi Hua and said while holding onto her forehead, "Some people are knocking on the door." Knock on the door? For you to be able to walk all the way here and knock on the door, it seems that your strength is not bad. Yi Hua felt that things were getting a bit interesting. He lightly waved his hand, and a white fog could be seen appearing in front of him. Gradually, an image appeared within the white fog. More than 10 people could be seen attacking Voidless Realm's barrier. Oh, these two people look a bit familiar. Have we met somewhere before? Yi Hua looked at Ji Yang and Zhuang Hong and asked. I really feel that I have met them before, but I'm not sure. It was no wonder. Back then, when Yi Hua was stirring up trouble in Cerulean Planet, he was so far away and he only paid attention to that president. Who would have the time to pay attention to anything else? At most, he would only take a glance at it and not take it to heart. I also feel that I have seen it somewhere before, but I just can't remember where. Qinya wrinkled her eyebrows and her mind was trying to recall. Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, also had the same feeling, but she just couldn't recall what it was. It seemed that the three of them only remembered the president and didn't know anyone else around them. After all, who would remember a salted fish? Let me take a look as well. Qing Yutong also ran over to take a look at the screen. However, how would Qing Yutong know? That time when Qing Yutong went to travel, she was still playing games at home. After looking at the screen for a long time, Yi Hua and his two wives were still unable to recall anything. At this time, Dong Huangli and Yi Yan suddenly ran into the room. The two little fellows were currently sweating profusely and gasping for breath. Daddy, Mommy, what are you two looking at? Dong Huangli jumped into her father's embrace. Yi Yan didn't hesitate either, and he squeezed onto the side as well. Dong Huangli looked at the people on the screen and cried out in surprise, Ali knows these two people. Yi Hua went into a daze, then looked towards his daughter who was in his embrace. Where did Ali see them before? Daddy, don't you remember? Back then, when we went to that planet to play, we saw those two people. Seems like the memory of children is quite good. Yi Hua suddenly slapped onto his forehead and immediately remembered. It's them? Dong Huang Baiji cried out in surprise. Qinya became even more confused. How did they find this place? Yi Hua was also very surprised, and at the same time he was also very impressed. I didn't expect that they would actually find my base of operations, and furthermore they only brought such a small amount of people with them. Did they come prepared, or did they come because their confidence is off the charts? It shouldn't be, right? Wasn't the lesson that we gave them last time not enough? Even if they are here to take revenge, the scale of the people that they brought with them is indeed too small. Qinya mumbled. Qing Yutong cried out in surprise, Aya. What happened when you two went to play last time? It seemed to be very interesting. Why didn't you bring me along? Dong Huang Baiji laughed lightly. What do you mean by not bringing you along? You were clearly the one who wanted to stay at home and play games. Yi Hua lightly stroked onto the hair of the two little fellows, then said with a light smile, Seems like they don't know that I am here. As for why they came, I am also very curious. Play? Qinya blinked her mischievous eyes. Yi Hua nodded his head, and the three looked towards Qing Yutong simultaneously. This caused Qing Yutong to cross her arms in front of her chest. What are you all trying to do, outside of Voidless Realm's barrier? Jianghu, Zhuang Hong and Shi Jingyao were standing at the side, and a group of guards were violently beating up the barrier. However, these kinds of attacks were completely unable to cause any damage to the barrier. Zhuang Hong looked at the huge barrier in front of him and said lightly, Seems like this barrier is indeed quite strong. This kind of barrier is one of the best in our world. Although Jiang didn't like Zhuang Hong, he also agreed with what Zhuang Hong said. The strength of this barrier had already surpassed his imagination. In fact, this kind of barrier wouldn't even appear on other planets. Shi Jingyao said respectfully at the side, The reason why Voidless Realm is able to achieve what it has today is closely related to this barrier. Even until now, no one has been able to break through this barrier. Zhuang Hong laughed mockingly, A mere barrier, can it even stop my footsteps? You are truly thinking too much. Zhuang Hong could be seen taking a step forward and shouting out, Everyone get out of the way. The guards in front of Zhuang Hong hurriedly stepped aside. Shi Jingyao was also very excited. I am about to see a big shot display his ultimate move, and I reckon that this Voidless Realm's barrier won't be able to withstand a single attack from him. Jiang crossed his arms in front of his chest and stood at the side, watching silently. Zhuang Hong shouted out angrily, and a huge amount of spiritual pressure was released from his body, which immediately set off a large amount of dust. Meanwhile, the spiritual pressure was still rising endlessly, and the yellow sand beneath Zhuanghong's feet began trembling, and the radius of the spiritual pressure was also becoming wider and wider. Shi Jingyao looked at Zhuanghong dumbfoundedly. As expected, this person's strength is very strong. No wonder he is able to argue with General Director Ji, and furthermore he is not weak at all. This person is much stronger than me. With a sinister smile on his face, Zhuanghong fiercely took a step forward with his left leg, and a wave of air immediately spread out to all directions. Meanwhile, his right fist that was placed beside his lower abdomen was emitting out a terrifying aura. Break for me. Sky Fiend Fist. Along with Zhuanghong's shout, a wave of spiritual energy that could shake the heavens suddenly erupted, and the spiritual energy that brought along a scorching hot aura crashed onto Voidless Realm's barrier. Chapter 662. Boom. A series of booming sounds rang through the world. Although Zhuanghong's fist did not make contact with the barrier, the pressure he unleashed struck the barrier, causing it to revert back to its original form and tremble slightly. Shi Jingyao raised his hand and covered his mouth with his hand. His eyes were filled with shock. It was indeed awesome. With just a single punch, Voidless Realm's barrier shook, and it seemed like it was going to break apart. As expected of a higher-up, Jianghu, who was at the side, quietly looked at Zhuanghong acting cool, and in his mind he was currently thinking. But Zhuanghong was very satisfied just now. He wanted to show the youngsters how big the gap was. I, Zhuanghong, am one of the 3 great martial kings of Blue Blaze Star. Zhuanghong stood up straight and clapped his hands. As long as I make a move, even the strongest barrier will be reduced to ashes. Shi Jingyao almost stood at the side and shouted 666, but he quickly stopped himself and said, "Amazing." When Zhuanghong heard this, he chuckled. He didn't seem to mind, but he really enjoyed it in his heart. His vanity was satisfied. Voidless Realm's barrier could be seen to tremble slightly, and after a few seconds the trembling stopped. Voidless Realm's barrier concealed itself once again. Zhuanghong? Shi Jingyao. Jiang smiled and said, "Zhuanghong, looks like it won't work." This was a good opportunity to taunt Zhuanghong. Zhuanghong's complexion turned ugly. How could the barrier not break under his punch? As Zhuanghong roared, his body erupted with a spiritual energy that was even more powerful than before. Upgraded version Sky Killing Fist. The punch seemed to split the world. Shi Jingyao's body was blown backward by the strong wind, and he had no choice but to show his strength to stabilize his body. Boom. Voidless Realm's barrier shook once again. Zhuanghong heaved a sigh of relief. We will definitely succeed this time. Amazing. Shi Jingyao immediately clapped his hands and shouted. The surrounding guards also followed suit. From the applause, one could hear the awkwardness. In just a few seconds, Voidless Realm's barrier disappeared again. Zhuanghong's face flushed red as he clenched his fists tightly. He was actually able to maintain his original form in the face of his upgraded version of the Heaven Fiend Fist. There isn't even a bit of sign of cracking this. It was unimaginable. Jiang clapped his hands and shouted, "Zhuanghong, you didn't eat enough this morning, did you?" Zhuanghong shouted coldly, "I was careless just now. I'm going to be serious this time." "Oh, is it a serious series this time? Then we shall wait and see," Jiang shouted loudly, a mocking smile on his face. Zhuanghong could feel it. He immediately got into a horse stance and his eyes were solemn. This time he had to break through this damn barrier. How dare he embarrass himself like this? The yellow sand in the desert began to move slowly. With a loud bang, streaks of yellow sand shot into the sky. It was a magnificent sight. The veins on Zhuanghong's forehead bulged, thick and large. Ultimate version. Sky Fiend Fist. As Zhuanghong shouted, a huge illusory figure appeared behind him. A huge fist carrying a terrifying aura smashed against the barrier. This time, Voidless Realm's barrier trembled violently, and it seemed like Voidless Realm's barrier would shatter at any moment. As for Zhuanghong, his breathing was a little hurried after using this move. Shi Jingyao looked at it and immediately came back to his senses. He applauded again. Amazing. The guards also hurriedly applauded, their applause filled with helplessness and awkwardness. However, Voidless Realm's barrier did indeed tremble intensely, but 1 minute later the tremble disappeared. This made Zhuanghong feel uncomfortable. Just what is going on? Shi Jingyao was stupefied. This voidless realms barrier is actually this powerful? Even an expert like Jianghu is unable to break through it? I heard that back then, when Ying family attacked voidless realm, the barrier broke through it. How did they break through it? Jiang was also a little puzzled. This voidless realms barrier has already surpassed my expectations. For such a backward planet to actually have such a barrier, if I were to take it away, it should be a good thing. Just that, I don't know just how strong the person inside is. Just as everyone was puzzled, a ray of light flashed past. Qing Yutong could be seen wearing a white dress, and she was shockingly beautiful. All of the men on the scene looked at Qing Yutong. There is actually such a woman in this world. Especially Zhuanghong, this kind of trash planet actually has such an exceptional beauty. If I were to capture her back, hee. Jiang deeply wrinkled his brows. He had a bad feeling. This woman is giving me a very familiar feeling, especially the aura between her eyebrows. I feel like I have seen it somewhere before. I have seen quite a lot of beauties, but the number of beauties that are as beautiful as this can be counted with one's fingers. If I must count them, then they should be those two that I met that day. Compared to them, this woman is not inferior at all, and in some areas she is even slightly better than them. Shi Jingao searched for this woman's information in his mind. I don't recognize this woman at all, and she isn't the Empress either. Qing Yutong was a little angry in her heart. It is precisely because of these people that Big Sister and Big Sister Baiji came over. If not, with my strength, I would definitely be able to coax and trick brother-in-law onto the bed and let brother-in-law be comfortable, then I would be able to receive brother-in-law's praise. How great would that be? This group of bastards, they really came at the wrong time, ruining the secret affair between brother-in-law and me. Zhuanghong stood up straight and laughed lightly. Humph. Seems like this barrier is going to be broken soon, to actually send people out to fight. Shi Jingao shouted out, that's right. Afterward he clapped his hands again. The guards at the back followed closely behind. Qing Yutong said tenderly, you all are truly annoying. Just like a fly. Everyone's expression changed. This woman sure has a big tone. To actually describe us as flies. Who are you? Zhuanghong pointed at Qing Yutong and shouted out. Shi Jingao immediately shouted out, quickly report your name, these two are big figures. You can't afford to offend them. Qing Yutong laughed in her heart. Can't afford to offend them? With this powerful brother-in-law backing me up, I will be able to mess with whoever I want to mess with. Young man, don't be so sure of your words. Back then, when I was your age, I was also indecisive. Qing Yutong smiled towards Shi Jingao and said with a look of arrogance. Jiang appeared to be much calmer, and he asked indifferently, young lady, who are you? Or are you from Voidless Realm? Why do you all want to know who I am so much? Is this really important? You all aren't my cup of tea, so I'll gift you all a good person card. Everyone, Zhuanghong was a little angry. When did a woman have the right to lecture me? Seeing that Zhuanghong seemed to be about to make his move, Qing Yutong hurriedly shouted out, wait a minute. Before you hit me, I want to tell you, I am an existence that you cannot afford to offend. You better think twice before you act. Ah. What a joke, I can even afford to offend the heavens. Zhuanghong roared towards the sky with an extraordinary aura. Chapter 663. Qing Yutong pouted her mouth, provoking the heavens, you can't even provoke my brother-in-law and big sister. After hearing that, Zhuanghong laughed out loud again, brother-in-law? Big sister? Ha 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 ha. Call them out, see if I don't hammer them into shit. Qing Yutong looked at Zhuanghong dumbfoundedly, then suddenly clapped her hands, damn, you are dead, you actually want to hammer my brother-in-law and big sister into shit? Humph. Of course this old man never lies. Zhuanghong was very arrogant. He even slightly raised his chin, seemingly wanting to prove himself. Qing Yutong looked towards Jiang and Shi Jingao. What about you two? Jiang didn't speak, feeling very bad. Seeing that Jiang didn't speak, Shi Jingao didn't speak as well. Qing Yutong finally understood, only this person wants to hammer brother-in-law and big sister into shit. Qing Yutong could be seen shouting out loudly, brother-in-law, big sister, did you two hear that? He wants to hammer you two into shit. Before Qing Yutong could finish speaking, her head was knocked. Ouch, Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth. It must be brother-in-law knocking on my head, I really can't hear it. Yi Hua stood behind Qing Yutong along with his two wives. However, when Jiang and Zhuanghong saw those three familiar figures, their entire bodies stiffened. They even rubbed their eyes to make sure that what was in front of them was not an illusion. Why did they appear here? The entire Milky Way galaxy is so big, there are trillions of planets, how could it be so coincidental to meet them? Shi Jingyao was a bit excited. Bureau Chief Ji, this is the Empress and the person beside her is her man. Right now Jiang wished that he could slap Shi Jingyao to death. This man is the heavens. And you still dare to say that he is a stowaway. You must be tired of living. Qin Yutong obediently stood behind Yi Hua, and she even stood behind her big sister to show her status. In actuality, Qin Yutong didn't want to stand side by side with her big sister. This life is what I like, there is nothing better than having an affair with brother-in-law. Especially when she heard brother-in-law's happy moans, she felt especially satisfied and accomplished. I heard that you were going to hammer me into shit? Yi Hua asked faintly. Shi Jingyao didn't seem to have noticed the change in the two of them, and he was extremely excited. Voidless Realm should be finished today. However, before Shi Jingyao could react, Jiang and Zhuang Hong knelt down without hesitation. Seeing his chief bureau chief kneel, Shi Jingyao was confused. What was going on? Why did COG kneel? Why was that? Jiang lowered his head, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. He had really seen a ghost today. He had actually encountered such a 1 in a trillion chance. Zhuang Hong was even more afraid. He had just said that he would beat them into shit. It was over. It was all over. Shi Jingyao was confused and didn't dare to move. He quickly copied Jiang and obediently knelt down. When the guards behind them saw their boss kneeling, they hurriedly knelt down and didn't dare to raise their heads. Looking at the situation, Yi Hua sneered and said faintly, "No matter what, you all are my guests. Coming to my territory and giving me such a big greeting doesn't seem to be appropriate, right? Great Supreme Sir, we didn't know that you lived on this planet." Ji Yang's voice was trembling a little. He was extremely terrified. The things that happened in the past were still vivid in his mind. Facing the man in front of him, he couldn't bring himself to resist at all. Shi Jingyao, who was kneeling on the side, widened his bell-like eyes. Supreme Sovereign. This man is a Supreme Sovereign. In my files he is only D rank or E rank. From the looks of it, my information is wrong. I am finished this time. I still wanted to take down Voidless Realm. I am going to die. If I am able to escape from this calamity today, I, Shi Jingyao, will burn incense and pray to Bodhisattva every day. Yi Hua asked lightly, what if I knew? If I knew, I definitely wouldn't have come to disturb your cultivation. I deserve to die. Jiang begged for mercy again and again. In his heart he was cursing Zhuang Hong and Shi Jingyao. You only know how to not speak when something happens. Are you mute? Weren't you all very arrogant just a moment ago? That's right, you all deserve to die. Yi Hua's words caused the three to swallow their saliva. As long as this man says it, we definitely won't be able to escape. After pausing for a while, Yi Hua said again, I am also not the kind of person who would willfully kill the innocent. Everyone, even the three women who were standing at the back, were about to faint. This sentence of his is really too much. He is too good at acting. Being unrivaled is so lonely. Yi Hua sighed. Everyone was completely speechless. Damn it, I also want to be unrivaled. If you don't want to be unrivaled, why don't you give it to me? Qin Yutong likes brother-in-law when he is like this. I really want to press brother-in-law down on the bed and rub myself against brother-in-law. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were helpless. Yi Hua likes to be like this. They are unable to stop him. After sighing for a while, Yi Hua asked gravely, how do you all plan to settle this matter today? Jiang's heart sunk. This is a very difficult question. If I answer it well, I will be able to live. If I answer it badly, I will die. Without waiting for Jiang to speak, Zhuang Hong hurriedly shirked the responsibility. Great Supreme Sovereign, it was all him. He was the one who was in charge of this operation, and we were merely helpers who didn't know what was going on. Is that so? Yi Hua looked towards Jiang and asked. Jiang's lungs were about to explode from anger as he pointed at Zhuang Hong and scolded, bullshit, you were clearly the one who wanted to come. And now you are actually saying that it was me. Don't you have any face? Great Supreme Sovereign, please believe me, my loyalty towards you can be witnessed by heaven and earth. Zhuang Hong clenched his fist and placed it on his chest. This was the greatest etiquette in Blue Blaze Planet. Qingya took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. But just now, I heard that someone wanted to beat me into sh*t. How are you going to settle this? Zhuang Hong knelt a few steps forward, then hurriedly explained, it was my fault, it was a slip of the tongue. Zhuang Hong could be seen raising his hand and slapping his own mouth. His slap was very heavy, every slap made a pa-pa-pa sound, and even his teeth were slapped off by himself. Right now Zhuang Hong was only slapping his teeth off, but if a supreme sovereign were to come, that would be asking for his life. Thus, Zhuanghong slapped his face with great care, and his entire face was slapped swollen. Yihua didn't shout for Zhuanghong to stop, and Zhuanghong continued slapping his face. Who are you? Yihua didn't pay attention to Zhuanghong and asked Shi Jingyao. Shi Jingyao was really frightened right now. Although General Manager Ji doesn't fear Zhuanghong, he is still very careful around him. But looking at how Zhuanghong is right now, I don't dare to lie at all. Shi Jingyao lowered his head and said, Respected Supreme Sovereign, I am the director of the Time and Space Branch that is stationed on Earth, Shi Jingyao. Time and Space Branch, that time when I was at Blue Blaze Planet, I seem to have seen the Time and Space Branch recruiting people, right? Yihua mumbled. Chapter 664. Oh, so you are the General Bureau Chief, then he is your little brother. What are you here for this time? Yihua felt that this was too mystical. The jurisdiction of this Blue Blaze Planet is really surprisingly big. Replying to your honor, this time I am here to inspect the branches of each planet. Then why did you come to my place? Yihua asked faintly. Jianghu said respectfully, My subordinate said that Voidless Realm is this planet's strongest power, and there are stowaways hidden in there. Zhuanghong asked me to come over and help my subordinate solve the problem, which is why I disturbed your honor's cultivation. Hearing what Yihua said, Shi Jingyao's face turned ashen. Even his legs that were kneeling down became a bit soft. Who is the stowaways hidden in Voidless Realm? Yihua asked lightly. Jianghu didn't dare to say much, but since his honor asked, not saying anything would make him even more miserable. It is you, the great supreme overlord. Jianghu said softly as if he didn't dare to speak loudly. And how did you know that I am a stowaways? Yihua looked toward Shi Jingyao. Shi Jingyao's eyes revealed out deathly aura, and unknowingly he said, There is information on all stowaways, I will monitor them. Monitor? Is the hot pot restaurant outside of my bar your people? Yes. Shi Jingyao didn't dare to lie at all and told the truth. However, the three women behind him were very confused. Yihua is a stowaways? What does this mean? Could it be that Yihua is a foreigner? Then why don't I see any trace of a foreigner? Yihua finally knew who was monitoring him. So it is the people from this Time and Space Branch? This is really unexpected. I didn't even notice it a few years ago. Your monitoring skills are pretty good. Yihua said lightly. This was his affirmation towards Shi Jingyao's work. To be able to escape my eyes, I should feel honored. Shi Jingyao hurriedly begged for forgiveness. Great Supreme Overlord, I didn't know, please forgive my crime. This is all work, it is inevitable that there will be casualties. Bureau Chief Ji, am I right? How would Jianghu dare to say that he was wrong? Even if you say that poop smells good, I have to say that poop smells good too. Supreme Holy Light, please forgive my ignorance. Jianghu only wanted to save his own life. He didn't have the time to care about the others. Even if he wanted to save them, he couldn't. Zhuanghong was still slapping himself. His face was covered in blood, but he did not dare to stop. Yihua flicked the ash in his hand, and the ash slowly fell onto the yellow sand. Along with a gust of wind, the ash disappeared without a trace. Bureau Chief Ji, how do you think we should deal with them? Yihua asked in a deep voice. I, the Supreme Overlord, would never willfully kill the innocent. Jianghu rejoiced inwardly, but he didn't show it. He said in a deep voice, committing such a serious crime can only be washed away with death. Are you saying that they should all die? Yihua asked curiously. This kind of rule is really strict, to be able to use death to cleanse one's mistakes at the drop of a hat. On the other hand, the Supreme Overlord is much more benevolent. If a subordinate makes a mistake, at most, the Supreme Overlord would just scold them. Look at them, they died immediately. Jianghu nodded. Yes. Shi Jingyao, who was at the side, was completely paralyzed on the yellow sand, and there wasn't any color on his face at all. Today I came to get rid of Voidless Realm, but I didn't expect that before I even entered Voidless Realm, I would have to die on this yellow sand. Zhuanghong, who was at the side, stopped slapping himself, and with bloodshot eyes, he stared fixedly at Jianghu. F***K. You traitor. Zhuanghong. In front of the Supreme Overlord, you better show some respect. Right now Jianghu also knew how to flatter. Truly, when one is under the eaves of another, one has no choice but to lower one's head. You traitorous dog, I'm going to fight you to the death. Zhuanghong already knew his fate today. Although I don't dare to take action against the Supreme Overlord, I can still take action against Jianghu. Even if I am going to die, I am going to drag you along with me. Yihua didn't pay attention to Zhuang Hong and continued watching them fight. Zhuang Hong had just consecutively punched himself 3 times and slapped himself for such a long time. His stamina and spiritual energy had long been unable to keep up, and his strength was greatly reduced. Right now he was only able to use half of his usual strength. Meanwhile, Jianghu was at his peak condition. Before Zhuang Hong could even finish his 3 moves, he was already bound by Jianghu. Jianghu, I will remember you and you. I will be waiting for you in hell. Knowing that he was going to die, Zhuang Hong didn't have anything to be afraid of. Scolding the Supreme Overlord sure feels great. It wasn't like he had never been scolded by others before. In the past, scolding others when you can't win against them was a common problem of humans. Then, I might have to disappoint you, I am in charge of hell. You. Zhuang Hong couldn't even think of any words to threaten Yihua anymore. Jianghu took out a white revolver that was emitting out a faint orange light. With just a look, one could tell that the revolver was not an ordinary weapon. Soul Destroyer Gun. Zhuang Hong cried out in surprise. Yihua slightly raised his hand, and the silver muzzle of the revolver was pointed at Zhuang Hong's forehead. A terrifying aura was emitted out from the muzzle of the revolver. Zhuang Hong, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for angering the great Supreme Overlord. Jianghu, you bastard, I will not let you off. Jianghu didn't say anything else. His index finger lightly pressed down on the revolver, and the revolver could be seen spinning. Bang! A gunshot rang out on the yellow sand, and a bloody hole could be seen appearing on the center of Zhuang Hong's forehead. With unwillingness and indignation in his eyes, Zhuang Hong slowly fell onto the ground. After dealing with Zhuang Hong, Jianghu walked to Shi Jing'ao's side and slowly pointed at the back of Shi Jing'ao's head. Shi Jing'ao was badly frightened as he begged, "Please spare my life, Supreme Overlord, I really didn't know that it was you. General Manager Ji, all these years, even if I didn't have any meritorious deeds, I have still worked hard, can you please plead for me? Go on properly." Jianghu didn't say anything else and lightly pressed down on Shi Jing'ao's head with his finger. Bang! Shi Jing'ao powerlessly fell onto the yellow sand, and that widened gaze of his was filled with unwillingness and deep regret. Not only that, Jianghu continuously killed all of the guards behind him, he was indeed very vicious. After finishing everything, Jianghu hurriedly knelt down, because he knew that it was very possible that the Supreme Overlord would kill him. However, what he did just now was to hope that the Supreme Overlord would spare him once. Although the hope was very slim, he still had to give it a try. Yihua pondered for a moment. If I were to kill all of them, it seems a bit inappropriate. Although I have offended the Supreme Overlord, this kind of punishment seems to be more or less enough. It is also good to let one of them go back and report the situation. Don't make it seem like I don't know what happened. You can go back. Yihua said faintly. He decided to let Jianghu go. Jianghu was exulted. Seems like my gamble was correct. Thank you, Supreme Overlord, for not killing me. Jianghu spread out his arms and bowed. Yihua waved his hand, indicating that Jianghu could scram now. Looking at Jianghu like this is annoying. I hate people who admit defeat before even fighting. How would Jianghu dare to stay for another step? He immediately turned around and prepared to leave. Chapter 665. Wait. The smile on Ji Yang's face froze. What was going on? The Supreme Exalt had spared him, but wouldn't his wife have done the same to him? That didn't seem to be a problem. Qingye asked, "What do you mean by stowaways?" Jianghu felt that his heart couldn't take it anymore. He was almost scared to death. "Madam, stowaways mean transmigrating or being reborn in another plane. This is against the laws of space. The existence of the Space Administration is to protect the laws." Jianghu bowed slightly and said, "Qingye had thought that Yihua came from overseas. I didn't expect that his background would be so big, to actually be a transmigration or a rebirth, to the point that even till today I still haven't mentioned it. If this person didn't mention it, did he not intend to tell us?" Donghuang Baiji was also very depressed. "My husband actually didn't tell me about such a big matter. He definitely doesn't trust me." The 2 wives secretly pinched Yihua's waist. Seeing this, Jianghu immediately turned around and left. He couldn't look. If he looked too much, he would be silenced. Speaking of which, it was fortunate that Jianghu ran away quickly. Yihua indeed had the intention to kill Jianghu to silence him. The embarrassing state of a Supreme Overlord must not be known by anyone. "When I return, I have something to ask you," Qingye said faintly. Yihua let out a light sigh. Seems like there are still some things that I have to tell them. That tragic life of hers is truly pitiful. The reason why I didn't tell you all is for your own good, lest you all love me too much. Qing Yutong left first, but she gave Yihua a deep gaze. Next time I have to tell this story to Yutong alone. Now that his wife and sister-in-law were together, Yihua felt an indescribable excitement in his heart. This kind of feeling is truly great. However, he still had to tell them a little about himself. Should he reveal himself in front of them? I think it's better if I don't. That face is a bit too frightening. I'm afraid that you all won't be able to accept it. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji escorted Yihua to the bedroom and prepared to interrogate him. And when Yihua went back to his room, he couldn't help but sing, "How lonely is it to be invincible? How lonely is it to be invincible? How empty is it to be invincible, to stand at the peak all by myself? The cold wind blows past me unceasingly, my loneliness, who can understand me?" Qingya, Donghuang Baiji, Yihua could be seen being pressed onto a chair by his two wives, then asked, "Tell us, what else did you not tell us?" Sigh. Yihua let out a deep sigh, creating a bleak atmosphere. Donghuang Baiji said tenderly, "Yihua, stop pretending. Damn, it seems like they know my personality like the back of their hands. This is a very sad story. We have to talk somewhere else." Yihua said gravely, and his expression was on point. As expected of the best male lead, he is a first-rate expert when it comes to lying to his wife. Qingya looked at her husband's expression, and upon seeing that her husband wasn't pretending, her heart softened. "Where do you want to go?" "Let's go to bed." Qingya, Donghuang Baiji. He was indeed a big pervert. He wanted to go to bed and chat in broad daylight. He had ulterior motives. Seeing that his wives didn't seem to be willing, Yihua had no choice but to say, "Forget it, I will go out for a stroll." Seeing that her husband was acting shamelessly, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were unable to do anything about it. "Yihua, you are a supreme overlord, can you be a bit more serious? It's broad daylight." Donghuang Baiji said tenderly. "Let's talk at night then." The two women were immediately at their wits' end. They wanted to know about Yihua's past too much. Did he transmigrate or did he reincarnate? Women's gossipy hearts were burning. "Alright, but you can't lie to us anymore." "Hee, I never lie to others." "Hee." Yihua took the lead and laid on the soft bed. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji took off their clothes and leaned on Yihua's side while wearing their pajamas. It is better to not wear clothes when talking about this kind of thing. Yihua. Forget it then, let's talk at night. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji almost fainted from anger. Having a husband like this, what else can we do? If you don't go along with what he wants, he will get angry, scold you, and even resort to domestic violence. This is too miserable. The two women only wanted to know about Yihua's past. Thus, they didn't say anything and took off their clothes under the blanket. If they want to know about me, how can they not pay a price? Although they can't touch me, they can at least have some fun. Yihua. Why are you so dishonest? How could Qingya endure it? Just being touched by Yihua was already unbearable. Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, was the same as well. It has been a long time since the two of them irrigated their flowers. After all, no matter how beautiful a flower is, without someone fertilizing it, it wouldn't be good. Yihua said lightly, "Hug me tightly." Seeing that there was a change in their husband's tone, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji went into a slight daze, then subconsciously hugged onto their husband. Feeling his wife's warmth, Yihua felt very comfortable. Thinking back to the past, this is a scene that I didn't even dare to think about. Actually, I came from another place. Yihua said slowly. This first sentence gave Qingya and Donghuang Baiji a huge shock. I didn't expect that my husband isn't a local. Then, are you a transmigrator? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Yihua shook his head. I am a transmigrator. Transmigrator. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji knew what it meant to be a transmigrator. It meant that a transmigrator had died once. No wonder my husband's expression became so miserable, to the point that he didn't even tell me about it. So it turns out that he was afraid that I would be worried and blame Yihua wrongly. Deep guilt was released from Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's hearts. The two women hugged onto their husband tightly once again, comforting him mentally. Yihua's expression remained the same, but in his heart, he was feeling very good. Just by being influenced by me a bit, you two are already like this. If I were to tell you everything, you two would still be obedient to me. If I were to learn from you Tong and do it to me, that scene would be so great. The reason why I didn't tell you two is because I was afraid that you two would be worried. Yi Hua continued speaking, bringing the sorrowful atmosphere to the highest point. Lightly hugging onto his wife's shoulders, Yi Hua said gravely, just like the other transmigrators, I was also killed by someone. Not only me, there was also Wei Chang, Lai Gu, Yi Zizi, Brett, Ju Tian, and two more that you two will meet in the future. All of us were killed by someone. Speaking up to here, a red light flashed past Yi Hua's eyes. This time he wasn't acting, he was really releasing his killing intent. Even after so many years had passed, that scene would still appear in my dreams sometimes. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji went into a daze. I really didn't expect that Yi Hua and his subordinates would actually be exterminated. Just what kind of powerful being was able to kill them? Chapter 666. Yi Hua stabilized his mood. Don't put on a look of wanting to beat and kill in front of my wife, it's not cool at all. I was born in a place called the Kangluo continent. The region there is very large, perhaps the size of Earth, but it is only the size of an empire there. There are all kinds of creatures living there and I am one of them. Yi Hua felt that there was nothing wrong with what Yi Hua said. After all, I didn't say that I am a human. In the future, it would be more convenient for me to explain things to them, lest they say that I, the Supreme Overlord, lied to them. After all, I never lie. Yi Hua, where are your parents? Qingya asked with heartache. I didn't expect that my husband would have such an experience. I really shouldn't have been so willful. I don't have any parents. Yi Hua laughed at himself. I'm not pretending at all. As an undead, I am just a skeleton that crawled out from the ground. However, since he crawled out of the ground, did that mean that he was once a human but had become an undead? So her husband really didn't have any relatives. Yi Hua paused for a moment, then said, what I have is only you and the child. Yi Hua, looking at the heartache expression on his two wives' faces, Yi Hua expressed that he was very pleased. This is exactly the feeling that I want. Heartache, go on, let me see your heartache expression. Yi Hua, then, did you train hard to get to where you are now? Donghuang Baiji asked tenderly. I reckon that Donghuang Li and Yi Yen had already finished listening to Legend of the Skeleton. However, Yi Hua doesn't mind telling it again. Of course, no one is born a strong martial artist. No, except for Ali and Yen. Speaking of their children, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji revealed a smile on their faces. Ever since I appeared, I've been constantly being hunted down. It's very miserable. Yi Hua continued to act pitiful, wanting his two wives to feel sorry for him. Speaking of which, they had never felt sorry for him before, other than that time when he pretended to be paralyzed. Sure enough, after hearing what Yi Hua said, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were about to cry. I, the Supreme Overlord, feel so good. This is the rhythm. Let's have something even more explosive. It can't be helped. People are jealous of outstanding people, so they want to kill them in the cradle. But I have always insisted on my belief that one day I will stand out and make those arrogant people pay the price. In the process of becoming stronger, I met with Wei Chang and the others. In actuality, they are also pitiful people. They were abandoned, hated, hunted down, and so on. After we got together, we formed a group, no, a team. I almost wanted to say that it was a girl group, but recently Yutong had gotten used to talking about what girl group and so on. We will become stronger together and uphold justice together. Yi Hua felt that everyone's understanding of justice was different. To him, killing humans was his justice. For humans, killing oneself was also upholding justice. What exactly was justice? Who could say for sure? Yi Hua's voice gradually became gloomy. However, how can justice be so easily maintained? We were besieged by a group of old men. They joined hands to kill us one by one, and I watched as they fell one by one. There was nothing I could do. I really hate them. This time, his expression was a little deliberate and natural. The two wives didn't say anything and used their bodies to express their consolation. Fortunately, the heavens didn't let me die and I came back to life here. After that, I met with you. At that time, my emotions were still very unstable, so I ignored you. Do you still hate me? Yi Hua tightly hugged onto Donghuang Baiji and asked lightly. Donghuang Baiji finally knew the reason. All of this was a misunderstanding. After receiving such a heavy blow, my emotions were definitely unstable. Yi Hua, I don't blame you. Furthermore, aren't we together now? Donghuang Baiji used her forehead to prop onto Yi Hua's chin. Donghuang Baiji was very obedient, and she looked a bit like Qin Yutong. Yi Hua was very gratified as he continued, then there's Qingya. My temper isn't very good and I scold people for no reason at all, and I even spank your butts. However, all of my actions are filled with love. So, hitting people can be said to be filled with love. I've learned something. Perhaps it was because they were affected by the atmosphere. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji didn't refute Yihua's words, and they even said obediently, "And we know that's why we have always been accommodating to you." Do you two know what my greatest achievement in my life is? Yihua asked. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji slightly raised their heads and looked at their handsome husband. My greatest achievement in my life is not how powerful I am or how pretentious I am, but rather meeting the two of you. If not for the two of you, I wouldn't know what love is. Furthermore, the two of you even gave birth to a child for me. I want to say it has been hard on the two of you. I love the two of you. Hearing their husband's passionate confession, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji's eyes turned red. If I remember correctly, this is the first time Yihua said that he loved us. At this moment, I feel that I am so happy. Yihua revealed his true feelings. When the atmosphere was right, some words naturally came out from his mouth. In the past, I felt that saying such words would be very arrogant, but right now, I feel that saying such words is pretty good. Yihua said faintly, "However, I am also a man. I can understand that the two of you are pregnant and don't allow me to touch you, but the two of you should understand." Qinya was also very troubled, and she consoled Yihua. "After we give birth to our child, can we properly accompany you? Just bear with it for a few more months. Isn't Baiji going to give birth very soon? And after I give birth to our child, I will accompany you." Donghuang Baiji didn't expect that her husband would be so pitiful. If I am still unable to satisfy her husband's small request, I will truly feel very apologetic. What the heck, after giving birth to our child, doesn't that mean that we still have to wait for a few more months? How can that be possible? I have a good idea. Let's settle this matter first. What do you two think? Yihua was a bit excited. If I were to succeed today, I would be able to feel great. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji naturally nodded their heads. Serving your husband is the duty of a wife. Even if it means climbing a mountain of swords, you will not hesitate to do so. Yihua whispered a few words into his wife's ears. After Qinya and Donghuang Baiji heard what Yihua said, their entire body became unwell, and they looked at Yihua in disbelief. My husband actually called the two of us like that. Go and die. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji shouted out at the same time, then immediately wore their clothes and ran out of the room. A rosy cloud appeared on Qinya's beautiful face. Yihua was speechless as he laid on the bed. My beautiful dream was shattered into pieces. Look at how the two women acted just now. I, the Supreme Overlord, only made a small request, and the two women actually turned hostile in an instant. This is making me feel very gloomy. From the looks of it, the heartfelt words that I said just now were all fake. From the looks of it, the path that I, the Supreme Overlord, still has a long way to go. However, my sister-in-law is still able to do it. From the looks of it, Yutong is still the best. These two women are too unreasonable. Chapter 667. Jianghu escaped from Earth without any mishap, got onto the spaceship and immediately left the solar system. This was simply too terrifying. Even now, his legs were still weak and he felt that he had just walked through the gates of hell, and he was scared to death. Sitting on the pilot's seat, Jianghu still had to arrange the work on Earth. Since Shi Jingao died, someone has to take over this position. Looking at the name list, Jianghu used his identity to issue an order to let Wu Lu take over the position of bureau chief. After everything was done, Jianghu felt that he needed to sleep to calm down, and think about how he should report the situation when he returned. In fact, it was very simple. I just need to tell the truth. Even if the president hears it, he will tremble with fear and he might even praise my actions. If I really anger that person, the consequences will be even more unimaginable. Wu Lu was currently waiting for the bureau chief to return. He sat on the office chair and slowly turned around. After a long time, he still didn't receive a call from the bureau chief. Suddenly, the computer screen flashed and a message seemed to have popped up. Bored, he hurriedly checked the message. When he saw the appointment of the bureau chief, Wu Lu was completely stupefied. This kind of surprise was not surprise but shock. This kind of appointment can only mean one thing. That means bureau chief Shi is finished. Dead. Otherwise, why would such an appointment appear? And it was so sudden, it must be Voidless Realm. Voidless Realm killed bureau chief Shi. But why is the bureau chief still alive? Just what is going on? Wu Lu didn't understand and he was completely confused. Could it be that even time and space administration can't touch Voidless Realm? This is too shocking. Right now Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were lying on the big bed. Bai Cixin's face was filled with satisfaction, while Wang Debao's face was filled with pride. As long as my wife doesn't use that move, my fighting strength is still very strong. After a long time, Bai Cixin said faintly, I wonder how is that bureau chief sure doing? Wang Debao patted on Bai Cixin's shoulder and said gently, if he succeeds he will definitely give you a call. But it has already been so many days and there is still no news. I keep feeling that something unexpected happened again. Bai Cixin knitted her eyebrows, her eyes were filled with worry. If even Time and Space Administration can't deal with Voidless Realm, then who else can? There is basically no one who can deal with Voidless Realm. I'm afraid that I won't be able to take revenge in this life. I'm not resigned to fate. Wang Debao knew his wife very well, so he suggested, why don't we give her a call? Bai Cixin nodded, picked up the phone on the bedside table and called Shi Jinghao. The number that you have dialed is power off. Bai Cixin stared at her phone in a daze. He turned off his phone. Wang Debao sat up and took the phone to make another call. The number that you have dialed is power off. The couple had a bad feeling about this. Something really happened, Bai Cixin muttered. There was a hint of despair in her eyes. Wang Debao quickly picked up his phone. Wife, don't worry. I still have Wu Lu's number. I'll call and ask. Wang Debao quickly found Wu Lu's number and immediately called him. Wu Lu quickly picked up the phone. Who is it? It's me, Wang Debao. Mr. Wang, what can I do for you? Wu Lu asked flatly, without any emotion in his tone, as if he was talking to a stranger. Wang Debao asked directly, what's wrong with Director Shi? Why can't I get through to him? Mr. Wang, it's better not to contact him in the future. I'm the director now. After finished speaking, Wu Lu hung up the phone. Hearing the busy tone that came from the phone, Wang Debao's face stiffened a bit. What's wrong? Bai Cixin asked concernedly. Wang Debao shook his head. I'm afraid that Director Shi is already. Wu Lu is the director now. Hearing such news, Bai Cixin's face turned ashen as she laid powerlessly at the side with lifeless eyes. He really died. Even an organization like Spacetime Branch was unable to do anything to Limitless Realm, and even Director Shi died. That Director Shi was able to easily take out such a powerful primordial spirit, yet he still died. If that's the case, I won't be able to move at all. Just a finger from Voidless Realm would be able to kill me. Wang Debao leaned against the bedside table. As a husband, I can't help my wife, and I even made my wife so sad I'm really useless. Deep guilt lingered in Wang Debao's heart. After a long time, Wang Debao said lightly, Wife, let's forget about it, let's not get involved anymore. Voidless Realm strength is not something that we can control. So many people wanted to bring down Voidless Realm, but in the end they all ended up like this. Bai Cixin did not reply to her husband, and her beautiful eyes stared at the ceiling. Debao, love me properly. After a long time, Bai Cixin raised her head and looked at her husband and said. Wang Debao had a bad premonition. Bai Cixin, what are you trying to do? Bai Cixin laughed lightly. Debao, you understand me, you know what I'm trying to do. Are you crazy? You are courting death. Wang Debao found it unbelievable. My wife is actually going to barge into the tiger's den by herself. Why can't I just live a good life? Revenge breeds revenge. Only by letting go of the resentment in my heart can I live comfortably. Even if I die, I will let Voidless Realm know my attitude. Debao, thank you for accompanying me for so many years. What I am doing is very selfish, and the person I am letting down the most is you. Can you forgive me for being willful this time? Bai Cixin was such a woman, and it could be said that she was the kind of woman who would do anything to achieve her goal. Even if she knew that she was going to die, she still had to use her attitude to express something. If she didn't express her attitude, what was the point of living? Obsession was scary, and a crazy obsession was even scarier. It would make a person not fear death. Just like the current Bai Cixin, in order to speak for me, she was willing to provoke an invincible existence. Wang Debao let out a deep sigh. My wife is very stubborn. Once she decided on something, it would be very hard for her to turn back. In actuality, I don't want to fight for anything. My biggest wish is to live with my wife, give birth to 2 children, watch them grow up, marry a wife or marry someone else and live an ordinary life. This kind of fight is too tiring. However, my wife's thinking is completely different from mine. What she wants is the glory of standing at the top of the clouds. In order to fulfill my wife's wish, I will do my best to help my wife. No matter how unwilling I am, I will still do it. Because everything is worth it for my wife, I am able to do anything. I will accompany you. Wang Debao laughed lightly. If my wife dies, what is the point of living? After so many years, I have already gotten used to her being by my side, gotten used to her being high and mighty. Chapter 668. Bai Cixin smiled. Hubby, let me go alone, I don't want to be a burden to others anymore. Wang Debao pinched his wife's cheek. Are you saying that I'm an outsider? How can you be an outsider? You are the person I love. As the person you love, what's wrong with me accompanying you to a place? We have been together for so long, there should be an end to this, right? Wang Debao spoke of this matter in a relaxed tone, which made the atmosphere a lot better. It was not so depressing. Bai Cixin lightly hugged her husband. You can even joke about such a serious matter, I'm really worried. If you're worried, I can stay by your side every day as long as you don't hate me. Why would I hate you? The most successful thing that I, Bai Cixin, have done in my life is marrying you. The scene of Bai Cixin getting to know Wang Debao appeared in her mind, and a slight smile appeared on her face. Wang Debao was very excited. My wife finally confessed to me, seems like I have to properly comfort my wife. Debao, let's have a child. No problem, I guarantee that I will complete the mission. The husband and wife looked like they were chatting and laughing, but in actuality, they were not willing to show their pain to each other, they were both thinking for each other. If Bai Cixin could let go of the hatred in her heart and live a good life with Wang Debao, that would be a very happy thing. The sky gradually darkened. Wang Debao opened his eyes, and realized that the beauty beside him had already disappeared. His heart immediately sank, and without even wearing his pants he opened the door and went out. When he smelled a faint fragrance, Wang Debao was startled. Debao, let's go downstairs to eat. Bai Cixin held onto the dishes that she personally cooked and shouted towards her husband who was upstairs. Okay. Wang Debao was very surprised. My wife rarely cooks, and the number of times that she cooks can be counted with one hand. After wearing his pajamas, Wang Debao looked towards the dining room with a surprised gaze. For dishes and one soup, all of them are my favorite dishes. Bai Cixin carried the rice out, and with an apologetic look on her face she said, Debao, we have been married for so long but I have never cooked a proper meal for you, am I very bad? Wang Debao didn't say anything and hugged his wife tightly in his arms. His eyes were a little red. No, you are the best woman in the world. It is my honor to marry you. Bai Cixin snuggled into her husband's embrace and felt the warmth of her husband's chest. It was very warm and very comfortable. Bai Cixin really wanted to convince herself not to bother about those things anymore, but, I can't let it go. I really can't. After a while, Bai Cixin smiled gently and said, all right, the food is getting cold. I'll let you hug me again tonight. Wang Debao let go of his wife and grinned, but his eyes were red. Looking at her husband's behavior, Bai Cixin's heart was also faintly dying. She had never done anything for her husband in this life. If there was a next life, she would definitely be an obedient wife. His father and Bai Cixin sat at the dining table. Bai Cixin smiled and said, try the stir-fried pork with green peppers I made. I haven't made it in a long time. I hope you won't mind. How could Wang Debao dislike the food? He picked up the bowl of rice and started eating ferociously, and it's delicious. My wife, your cooking skills are too good. In actuality, Wang Debao didn't even know what the food tasted like. Bai Cixin looked at her husband wolfing down the food, and a layer of mist appeared in her beautiful eyes. Her heart was in pain. Hubby, let's go for a walk after we finish eating. It has been a long time since we last went for a walk after eating. Bai Cixin said tenderly and placed some food on her husband's plate. Wang Debao said vaguely, and okay. Let's go to Happy Valley tomorrow then, I want to go on a roller coaster. Bai Cixin supported her chin with both of her hands, seemingly wanting to do all the things that she had never done before. Wang Debao paused for a moment, then said with a smile, all right, we have never been to an amusement park before. Hubby, you won't blame me, right? How would I blame you? You didn't like to go to places like this in the past. You still dare to say that you don't blame me? Bai Cixin pouted her small mouth and acted coquettishly. Wang Debao had never seen his wife act coquettishly before, and he was instantly stupefied. Wife, I was wrong. Accompany me properly tomorrow, if not, I will get angry. Wang Debao laughed loudly. No problem, I will accompany you properly tomorrow. And eat a bit more. Bai Cixin didn't eat, and she kept on putting food into her husband's bowl. Her beautiful eyes were filled with happiness. but more than that, there was an apologetic look in her eyes. I'm sorry, Debeo. After dinner, the husband and wife drove to the riverside of Haigang City to take a walk. While enjoying the breeze, Bai Cixin held onto her husband's arm and lightly leaned against him. Hubby, how about we raise a golden retriever in the future? Bai Cixin asked. Wife, I thought that you don't like dogs? Wang Debeo asked curiously. I suddenly like dogs. Bai Cixin looked at the couple that was holding onto a Samoyed and taking a walk, and the couple seemed to be very happy. Then how about we go and buy one right now? Wang Debeo suggested. And, without saying anything further, the two immediately went to a pet shop and bought a little golden retriever. The little fellow was very excited. I finally have a master. Bai Cixin hugged onto the golden retriever and lightly stroked onto it. So cute. It's good that you like it. Wang Debeo also stroked onto the head of the golden retriever. The little fellow squinted its eyes, enjoying the stroking. After walking to the street, the husband and wife bought milk tea to drink. Just like any other young couple, there wasn't any difference. It seems like I haven't bought clothes for a long time, Bai Cixin said. Wang Debeo was very smart and he immediately understood what his wife meant. Let's go to the mall, we'll buy whatever you want. Hubby, you are so nice. Woof, royal translation, big brother, I also want dog food. After arriving at the mall, Wang Debeo seemed to have recalled something from the past. Wife, do you still remember that time when I was chasing after you? I also came here? Yes, I remember that you were still acting cool here, it was so funny. Bai Cixin laughed lightly. Wang Debeo was very depressed. How can that be called acting cool? It was obviously someone else who provoked me, okay? Furthermore, wasn't Act Tough Wang Xiao also chasing after you at that time? Then do you know why I chose you in the end? Bai Cixin asked softly. What? Actually, Wang Debeo was also very curious. At that time, Act Tough Wang Xiao was very strong, he was a big shot. On the other hand, he was only slightly rich and Bai Cixin was so outstanding, why would she choose him? Because you are honest, Bai Cixin said softly. In her heart, her husband was very obedient, like a little puppy, basically listening to everything she said, and he also didn't fool around outside. Reality proved that her judgment was correct. Wang Debeo was very helpless. Wife, are you praising me or insulting me? Chapter 669. Hearing this, Wang Debeo felt very comfortable in his heart. For such an outstanding woman like Bai Cixin to feel comfortable for me, this is also a kind of pride. Wang Debeo immediately hugged onto his wife's shoulder and said heroically, Wife, buy whatever you want today. So generous? Bai Cixin tightly leaned onto her husband, her face brimming with happiness. If only we could continue living like this. Of course, you are my wife. If I don't spend money for you, who should I spend money for? Husband, I love you. After hearing that, Wang Debeo felt very happy. In the past, my wife never said that, but now, after hearing that, I am willing to die. When the surrounding men saw how generous Wang Debeo was, and then looked at that woman's happy look, they also wanted to imitate Wang Debeo, but the money in their pockets. Sigh. Some of the men who brought girls to the mall felt awkward. Compared to that nouveau riche Wang Debeo, they are really. On this night, the husband and wife played very happily. After shopping at the mall, they even went to eat supper and even took a walk and chatted late at night. When they returned home, they were filled with endless passion. The golden retriever couldn't bear to watch anymore and hid in a corner while shivering. The morning sunlight is always so warm. Wang Debeo rubbed his eyes, then seemed to have thought of something and immediately stretched out his hand to hug. When he touched that soft and tender body, Wang Debeo let out a sigh of relief. I was afraid that Bai Cixin would run away without saying a word and bear everything by myself. Wife, it's already 8 a.m. Wang Debeo shouted lightly. Bai Cixin hugged onto her husband's chest. Let me sleep for a while more. Didn't you say that you still want to go to the amusement park today? Wang Debeo pinched onto his wife's nose. She is truly beautiful and cute. Let me sleep for another 5 minutes, I beg you. Wang Debeo could only hug onto his wife tightly and enjoy the pleasant morning, because he might not be able to enjoy it anymore in the future. However, as long as he can be with his wife, it doesn't matter where he goes. 5 minutes later, Bai Cixin woke up. She is truly a woman who does what she said. Debeo, Xiaobao is taking a dump, quickly come and clean up. Oh, coming. The golden retriever was named Xiaobao by the two. Wang Debeo didn't mind as long as his wife was happy, it was fine. After the two of them had breakfast at home, Bai Cixin brought Big Treasure and Little Treasure out. They were going to the amusement park today. This time Wang Debao was in charge of driving. Bai Cixin held Xiaobao and played with him. Xiaobao, take good care of the house in the future, understand? If bad people come, bite them. The little guy was dumbfounded as he looked at his mistress. Wang Debao, who was driving, smiled. However, upon closer inspection, Wang Debao's smile was dry. Debao, I want to eat ice cream, hamburgers, and all kinds of snacks later, Bai Cixin said coquettishly. Wang Debao teased, why? Don't you need to lose weight? I won't reduce it. You won't despise me anyway. Who said that? I despise it. If you dare, I'll immediately run away from home with Xiaobao. Haha. Bringing along a relaxed atmosphere, the husband and wife went to Happy Valley. Ever since the witch was eliminated by Voidless Realm, men dared to go to the streets to flirt with women. All of the entertainment venues in Happy Valley were filled to the brim. The men were venting out their gloominess, while the women were venting out their days without men. On this day Wang Debao brought Bai Cixin to play with all kinds of things. Bai Cixin even went to ride on the merry-go-round. The heart of a young girl was truly bursting out. Meanwhile, Wang Debao took a photo of his wife's heartfelt smile onto his phone. I don't want to forget this woman for the rest of my life. In fact, in the next few days the husband and wife went to all of the scenic spots around Gaohai City, leaving behind the happy laughter of the husband and wife at every place. Half a month passed by in the blink of an eye. During this half a month, Wang Debao was the happiest he had ever been. All of his worries were thrown to the back of his head, and he went to play with his beloved woman. Bai Cixin was the same as well. Although the time given to her husband was very short, it could be said that she satisfied her husband's request. The life of an ordinary person is truly good, there is no pressure at all, and I can do whatever I want to do, truly great. Debao, I have been very happy these few days. Bai Cixin leaned onto her husband's embrace and mumbled. Hearing that, Wang Debao paused for a moment, then asked, Wife, do you like this kind of life? Yes. Bai Cixin truly liked this kind of life. Then, can we continue living like this forever? Wang Debao said with a pleading tone. I really don't want my wife to walk into a dead end, why can't I just live a good life? Bai Cixin rubbed onto Xiaobao's head and said tenderly, Debao, I have been chasing after something my entire life, and I might only stop when I am tired. I hope that you can bring Xiaobao along and live a good life in the future. The real reason why Bai Cixin bought a dog was because she wanted her husband to have something to rely on, just like how when one sees Xiaobao one would think of herself. Wife, living alone is not my style, we either live together or die together. On the road to hell, let's walk together. Bai Cixin's tears immediately flowed out from her eyes. We will still be together in our next life. Wang Debao held onto his wife's hand tightly and said with certainty, Not only in our next life, you have to accompany me in every life. And I will accompany you in every life. Bai Cixin said tenderly, and tears flowed down from her beautiful face. The husband and wife snuggled together for a very, very long time. Bai Cixin's gaze gradually became firm. Let's go look for heaven and earth first. All right. Wang Debao nodded his head. The husband and wife walked back to the bedroom and changed into a set of clean clothes. Looking at his wife who was dressed in white, Wang Debao laughed lightly and said, I like seeing you like this the most. Bai Cixin laughed, then stood in front of her husband and adjusted her necktie. I also like this handsome look of yours. The husband and wife looked at each other and smiled, then walked downstairs while holding hands. After changing into shoes they walked out of the house. Woof woof woof. Xiaobao chased after them all the way out, then obediently squatted at the entrance of the villa, seemingly waiting for the two owners to return home again. Bai Cixin slightly bowed and stroked Xiaobao. Little fellow, I'm sorry we won't be able to take care of you anymore. Xiaobao didn't understand what Bai Cixin was saying, and he wagged his tail, seemingly enjoying his owner's stroking. Wang Debao had already driven the car out and he looked at his wife and Xiaobao saying goodbye. Bai Cixin stroked Xiaobao one last time, then turned around and got into the car. Wang Debao frowned and looked at Xiaobao who was squatting at the entrance of the villa. Perhaps Xiaobao won't be able to wait for me and my wife to return home anymore. Lightly stepping on the accelerator, the husband and wife slowly left the house. Home is warm. But in the future, it might be cold. Woof woof woof. Chapter 670. Even dogs knew that a home with a master was perfect. Without a master it wouldn't be a home. Wang Debao stepped on the brake, opened the door and got out of the car. He held Xiao Bao in his arms before getting into the car. The little guy saw his master parking the car and even carried him. He was very happy that his master did not abandon him. Xiao Bao can be Feng Tian's companion, Wang Debao said softly. Bai Cixin nodded. At least she would have a place to return to. Half an hour later, the couple arrived at the towering villa, which used to be their own. Xiao Bao followed his master out of the car and arrived at this unfamiliar place. He was a bit vigilant and followed closely behind his mistress. Walking into the villa, Wang Debao was surprised to see the autistic Feng Tian pushing Qing Tiandi in his wheelchair for a walk. Qing Tiandi smiled when he saw Wang Debao and Bai Cixin. Debao, sister-in-law, long time no see. Brother Qing, how are you now? Wang Debao walked up and asked. Heaven and earth pursed his lips. Isn't it the same? On the other hand, Qing Tiandi realized that the couple was acting strangely. What's going on? Bai Cixin exhaled softly and lowered her head to look at Xiao Bao. Feng Tian, this is the dog I bought. Can you help me take care of it in the future? Feng Tian looked at Xiao Bao, who seemed to be a little afraid and hid behind Bai Cixin's feet. What are you going to do? Feng Tian asked. Wang Debao laughed lightly. I will accompany my wife to Voidless Realm. Qing Tian's expression stiffened. You two are going to Voidless Realm? Yes, some things have to be settled. Bai Cixin nodded quietly. Do you all know the consequences of going to Voidless Realm? God raising heaven and earth muttered. God raising heaven and earth was truly surprised, but at the same time God raising heaven and earth admired them a lot. There was only one outcome for going to Voidless Realm, and that was death. Brother Qing, we have decided to leave. We came here today to say our goodbyes and also to entrust Xiao Bao. Wang Debao smiled. At this moment, his heart seemed to have calmed down. Qing Tian sighed softly. Why do you have to do this? To be honest, Qing Tiandi does have a good impression of this couple. Although they did some things behind my back, it was all for the sake of protecting themselves. This is understandable. Bai Cixin smiled gently and said, Brother Qing, actually we still have to thank you. Thank you for taking care of us. Sai, let's not talk about it. Sometimes I make mistakes. Why don't you stay for lunch? We're a team after all, heaven raising heaven and earth said in a low voice. The couple didn't refuse and brought Xiao Bao into the villa. Feng Tian's expression was a little strange, as if he was struggling with something. Brother Qing, how about a family bucket? Wang Debao suggested. Qing Tiandi chuckled. Debao, I really admire you. What are you talking about? You're just being sloppy. Bai Cixin covered her mouth and giggled. She was really merciless in teasing her husband. Although she said that, Bai Cixin took out her phone and ordered takeout. Everyone sat on the sofa and watched the television quietly. As the doorbell rang, Wang Debao got up to get the takeaway. Eating fried chicken and cola, he felt like he had returned to the past. At that time, Xiaoyi was still there. At that time, Fengdi was still around. At that time, Qin Xuanzong was still around. Thinking back to the beginning, during that period of time, everyone was talking and laughing, but now, the meal passed by very quickly. The table was filled with bones, and even Xiao Bao was playing with the bones while gnawing on the bones. Burp. Wang Debao burped without any grace at all. Bai Cixin shook her head helplessly. However, she also liked her husband's straightforwardness. Letting out a breath, Wang Debao shouted out, This meal is so satisfying. Qing Tiandi gradually became serious. Wang Debao, Bai Cixin, I hope that the two of you will be able to come back alive. I, Qing Tiandi, have very few friends, but today I feel that the two of you are my friends. The couple went into a daze for a moment, but right now they didn't have the mood to think about anything else. Brother Qing, you are also our friend. Qing Tiandi tightly wrinkled his brows. As your friend, I still want to advise the two of you, don't go to Voidless Realm and live a good life. Bai Cixin said tenderly, Brother Qing, thank you for your kind intentions. If it's possible, can you do me a favor? What is it? Help me capture Debao. I don't want him to accompany me to Voidless Realm. Wang Debao was very helpless. However, this time he didn't get angry. Wife, unless Big Brother Qing is able to capture me forever, I will still go to Voidless Realm and take revenge for you. Cixn, you should be proud to have such a man. Debao, I, Qing Tian, admire you. You are a man. There was no need for Qing Tian to put on an act. They were already prepared to die. Wang Debao cupped his hands to express his gratitude. Honey, you'll never be able to get rid of me in this lifetime. Yeah, in the next life I'll stick to you. The couple looked at each other and smiled, their fingers tightly clasped together. Feng Tian, I'll leave Xiao Bao in your care. Wang Debao called out to the dumbfounded Feng Tian. After which, he held his wife's hand and prepared to leave. Wait! Feng Tian suddenly shouted. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin turned to look at Feng Tian. Feng Tian slowly stood up and said in a deep voice, "I'll go with you." Feng Tian's eyes were filled with determination as he said this. His previous gloominess was gone. It was as if the domineering Feng Tian from before had returned. "What are you going to do?" Qing Tian asked in confusion. Feng Tian clenched his fists tightly. "I'm going to settle the debt." After finished speaking, Feng Tian went upstairs to change his clothes. When he came down, all the stubble on his face had been cleaned, and the golden mask on his face looked brand new. Feng Tian felt as if he had been reborn. Feng Tian was also influenced by Wang Debao and Bai Cixin. Both of them are not afraid of death, but I, a man, am not afraid of death. Even if I die this time, I will wash away the humiliation I suffered back then. After Feng Tian went downstairs, he directly stood outside the door and waited. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin took one last look at Qing Tian and Xiaobao, who was gnawing on a bone on the floor, then closed the door. Qing Tian sat on the wheelchair absent-mindedly. Looking at the food on the table and feeling the air around him, it seemed that the air had become cold. A few minutes ago, everyone was still eating KFC, and in just a few minutes, I'm the only one left sitting here. And we are going to die. Why are we so foolish? We clearly know that we are going to die. Why do we still want to go? Why can't we be more rational and think of a way in the future? Bai Cixin had thought of all kinds of ways, but it was all useless. Meanwhile, Feng Tian is only going there for Yi Zizi. This time, even if I die, I will do my best. Perhaps Qing Tian still hasn't realized a problem. Why? If it's for something, then there would be a reason for me to die. Chapter 671. Only then did Xiaobao realize that his master had disappeared. He anxiously shouted and kept grabbing at the door, wanting to find his master. Wang Debao, Bai Cixin, and Feng Tian had already appeared outside of Voidless Realm's barrier. Thinking about how I am so close to Voidless Realm, Bai Cixin became very excited, and the blood in Bai Cixin's entire body started boiling. All of the hard work that Voidless Realm had put in over the years turned into bubbles with just a single sentence from Voidless Realm. Upon thinking about this, Bai Cixin immediately became furious. Voidless Realm, what right do you have to deny your own hard work? Just because your name is Voidless Realm. I, Bai Cixin, am not resigned to this. Wang Debao understood his wife very well. As a husband, he would definitely accompany her, even if it was the abyss of death. Feng Tian, who was standing at the side, recalled that day and felt humiliated. He was beaten up by a little girl and didn't even have the chance to avenge his brother. Today, if she didn't die, then he would die. I, Feng Tian, do not need your pity. In actuality, the reason why Feng Tian became autistic was because Yi Zizi had spared his life, and the look of disdain in her eyes was still vivid in his mind. Wang Debao took a deep breath, picked up a handful of sand from the ground and threw it at the barrier. The yellow sand with spiritual qi collided with the barrier like tiny bullets, causing little ripples. However, this could also be considered as knocking on the door. Meanwhile, inside Voidless Realm, Yi Hua's family was currently having lunch. Qinya, I am very happy that your cooking has improved. While eating the dishes that Qinya cooked, Yi Hua gave a high evaluation. The corners of Yi Yan's mouth were covered in oil. He smiled and said, Mom, Dad praised you. Right now, even the little fellows know that it is an honor to be able to receive Daddy's praise. Yener, be good and eat. Qinya patted her son's head and smiled. Yi Yan responded and began to eat fiercely. However, towards her husband's praise, Qinya was still very happy. My hard work did not go to waste. On the other hand, Dong Huangli's table manners were a lot more refined. However, Dong Huangli still said, Mummy, you have to work hard. Mummy Qing has already received Daddy's praise, but you haven't. Dong Huang Baiji. Being teased by her daughter like that, Dong Huang Baiji felt depressed to death. However, speaking of which, I have to deal with Voidless Realms matters every single day, so where would I have the time to take care of my husband's daily life? From the looks of it, I have to pay more attention to this aspect in the future. What Ali said is right. Baiji, you should properly reflect on your actions. Yi Hua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji, this father and daughter pair were simply ganging up to bully others. They were too evil. Ali, then who do you like, Mummy or Daddy? Dong Huang Baiji felt that she had to regain a bit of her confidence and thought to herself, my daughter definitely likes me a bit more. Yi Hua shook his head. This empress, sometimes she's really stupid. Isn't this question just trying to trick me? Dong Huangli didn't hesitate at all. Of course I like daddy a bit more and then mommy. Dong Huang Baiji, blow? This blow is too much of a blow? Haha. Yi Hua laughed out loud, causing Dong Huang Baiji to feel like crying. My daughter actually likes my father a bit more? It wasn't easy for me to take care of you. Qing Yutong was also lightly laughing while covering her mouth. These two little fellows are so cute, big sister and big sister Baiji are definitely going to be depressed. Right now the two of them are the ones who are following brother-in-law around. Seeing that Qing Yutong was secretly laughing, Dong Huang Baiji decided to change the focus of the conversation. Yutong, this year is going to be half over again, how are you going to solve the problem of that person of yours? The corner of Qing Yutong's mouth twitched. The empress can't bully anyone but me. Brother-in-law, your wife is bullying me, why aren't you saying anything? Of course, Yi Hua had to say something. Baiji Yutong is still young, what's the rush? Qingya didn't think so. What do you mean by still young? In a few years' time she will be 30 years old, who would want her then? Even if I am 30 years old, I will still be the prettiest. Qing Yutong didn't care at all, it is good to have brother-in-law supporting me. Just as Qingya was about to properly teach her little sister a lesson, an imperial guard hurriedly ran over and said respectfully, reporting to your majesty, someone is destroying the barrier. Dong Huang Baiji's brows wrinkled, someone is destroying the barrier again. Yi Hua waved his hand and very quickly an image appeared on the screen. Why are there so many people seeking death during this period of time? This is making me a bit annoyed. Very quickly figures appeared on the screen. It's them. Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. I didn't expect that it would be Wang Debao and his wife as well as Feng Tian. Yi Hua had a good impression of Wang Debao. During the first time he came into contact with Wang Debao was the first one to return the money. Wang Debao was a man of his word. Yi Hua remembered that back then Dong Huang Baiji expelled him from the north, and back then Wang Debao came to look for Yi Hua, seemingly wanting to seek shelter with Yi Hua, but was rejected. If Yi Hua didn't remember wrongly, Yi Hua even received a carton of cigarettes from Wang Debao back then. Qingya was also very confused. Why did Wang Debao and Bai Cixin come to our place? There is also this Feng Tian. Qing Yutong had seen Feng Tian before. Back then Feng Tian had consumed the blood demon. Dong Huang Baiji said gravely, since they came there is definitely something going on. Back then when I expelled my family from the north, it seems like they have some complaints. Yi Hua placed down the chopsticks in his hand and said indifferently, if they don't have any complaints even after that, then it would be strange. Qing Yutong held onto her chin, and a look of admiration could be seen in her eyes. This is completely seeking death. Or could it be that they knew that they would die and so they still came as usual? Let's go out and take a look. I have quite a good feeling towards this Wang Debao. Yi Hua's meaning was very clear. Other than Wang Debao, the life and death of the others didn't matter to him. We want to go as well. Yi Yin shouted out while standing on the stool. Qingya glared at Yi Hua, obediently eat your food. After eating, go and take a nap. If I find out that you two sneaked out again, I will smack your butts. In this family, Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji played the role of strict mother, while Yi Hua played the role of a loving father. The children would definitely like their father a lot. Yi Yin pouted his small mouth and ate his food quietly. To not even bring me and big sister to such fun things, I feel so depressed. After the parents left, Dong Huangli said in a low voice, Yin, don't worry, big sister will bring you out to have fun in the future. Really? Of course it's true, when did big sister ever lie to you? And big sister is the best. Yi Yin was very happy. I feel so fortunate to have such a big sister. At this moment, Yi Hua appeared outside of Voidless Realm's barrier with his 3 women. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin did not cower, and both of them looked at each other fixedly. Meanwhile, Feng Tian was very puzzled. Where is that little lowly? Where is that little lowly? Yi Hua first took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then asked faintly, why did you two come to Voidless Realm? If there is nothing, please go back. Chapter 672. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not a person who willfully slaughters the innocent. Furthermore, there is no sense of accomplishment in killing them. However, because of Wang Debao's face I can let them off. This deity quite admires this man. He is trustworthy, completely different from Xiao Yi. I have something to do. Wang Debao said aloud. As a man he couldn't be a coward at this time. Today he had to get justice for his wife. Yi Hua's brows slightly wrinkled. I, the Supreme Overlord, very rarely persuade others, and the auntie's son is one of them. The auntie's son is also in a rather good mood today, which is why I said a few words to Yi Hua. Don't make me, the Supreme Overlord, impatient. Speak. Yi Hua asked faintly, and wisps of green smoke rose from the cigarette that was on the tip of his finger. Wang Debao held his wife's hand tightly and said in a low voice, We must seek justice from the Empress. Dong Huang Baiji, who was standing at the back, paused for a moment. Seems like my guess is correct. Yi Hua let out a breath. Baiji, they are looking for you. Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head, then took a step forward and asked, What kind of justice do you two want from me? Bai Cixin's eyes flashed with determination. She held her husband's hand tightly. I, Bai Cixin, have worked hard all my life, but you negated all my hard work with just one sentence. I can't accept this. Dong Huang Baiji's expression remained unchanged as she said faintly, If I don't remember wrongly, back then I had already given the order to forbid you two from fighting each other, yet you still joined hands with Xiao Yi and went to Tang family. My voidless realm is a big power in the north, yet you didn't even listen to the words of a big power. Do you even put voidless realm in your eyes? Voidless realm. Voidless realm. Just because you are the Empress of Voidless Realm, does that mean that you have the authority to sentence a person to death? Bai Cixin's voice gradually became agitated and hoarse. Dong Huang Baiji silently looked at Bai Cixin, then said, That's right. That's why I can't accept this. Bai Cixin shouted in her sweet voice. Dong Huang Baiji looked at the woman in front of her and seemed to be able to understand what the woman in front of her was feeling. However, the position that Dong Huang Baiji was in was different, and thus, the way that Dong Huang Baiji thought would be different. How do you want to seek justice? Dong Huang Baiji asked lightly. As a woman, it was better for Dong Huang Baiji to speak nicely and not directly kill him. A long sword could be seen condensing in Bai Cixin's hand, and Bai Cixin looked at Dong Huang Baiji. I, Bai Cixin, am going to challenge you, Voidless Realm's Empress. Bai Cixin's actions caused Yi Hua to be puzzled, and even Qin Ya and Qin Yutong, who were standing at the back, were stupefied. Challenging Voidless Realm's Empress. What was the difference between that and courting death? Dong Huang Baiji's expression slightly changed. This woman is so stubborn that it's a little scary. You are no match for me, Dong Huang Baiji said gravely. She seemed to be trying to dispel Bai Cixin's thoughts. After all, both of their strengths were simply not on the same level. Bai Cixin did not back down and said loudly, Dong Huang Baiji, I know that I am not your opponent, but no matter what, I, Bai Cixin, still want to challenge you. Even if I have to use my last drop of blood. Right now, Dong Huang Baiji understood that Bai Cixin was standing for his beliefs, even if he were to fall at the entrance of Voidless Realm today. From a woman's point of view, Dong Huang Baiji couldn't bear to do that. However, from the perspective of Voidless Realm's Empress wouldn't allow anyone to look down on her. Alright. I, Dong Huang Baiji, accept your challenge. Hearing that Dong Huang Baiji accepted her challenge, Bai Cixin's expression changed a bit, as if something had just been released. However, towards this kind of situation, the one who felt the most uncomfortable was Wang Debao. His big hand tightly held onto his wife's delicate hand, seemingly not wanting to let go. Yi Hua and Qin Ya both saw the two's actions. Qin Ya was a little confused. Can't they just live a normal life? Why do they have to be like this? Is it just because of that tone of voice? Yi Hua had encountered similar problems in the past. However, those people were all people who came to take revenge. Even if they knew that they were no match for their opponent, their conviction in taking revenge was incomparably huge. In the past, Yi Hua didn't understand why those people would do that, but now that he thought about it, those people's courage was indeed very big. Facing an opponent that they were no match for, even though they clearly knew that they were going to die, they still didn't hesitate to do so, all for the sake of fulfilling the desire in their hearts. Debao, let me finish one last thing. In the future, I will listen to everything you say. Bai Cixin looked at her husband and said tenderly. Wang Debao mumbled, Is there still a future? And there will be a future. Bai Cixin said with a firm tone. Wang Debao lightly let go of his wife's hand. He felt that if he let go of his wife like this, he might not be able to hold on to her hand anymore. At this moment, Yi Hua looked towards Feng Tian and asked, What did you come here for? Revenge. Right now, Feng Tian didn't have a trace of fear, even if the person who was standing in front of him was Yi Hua. Who are you going to take revenge on? Yi Hua asked curiously. I don't seem to have seen this man before, right? Feng Tian said eerily, that lowly with twin tails. When Feng Tian said that, Yi Hua and the others immediately knew who that lowly was. Such a unique symbol, isn't that Yi Zizi? No matter what, other people are also here to take revenge, and I, the Supreme Overlord, should satisfy their wish. However, this Feng Tian actually dared to challenge Yi Zizi. His courage is indeed commendable. All right, I will grant you your wish. Yi Hua said faintly, then immediately contacted Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi, who was currently playing games, received a summon from Yi Hua. Without a choice, Yi Zizi had no choice but to kill herself. Even if I die, I have to do it myself. It is impossible for me to kill myself. Very quickly, Yi Zizi appeared at the scene. When Feng Tian saw that familiar face, his entire body trembled slightly. Oh, it's you. Didn't I spare you last time? Why are you here again? Yi Zizi really didn't understand what this person was thinking. Feng Tian looked at Yi Zizi's disdainful expression and said, I, Feng Tian, want to challenge you again. You are really bored, Sai, it's not like you can defeat me. Yi Zizi shook her head, her twin tails swaying behind her head. Yi Zizi seemed to not be interested at all. Isn't this a complete waste of time? Sometimes, telling the truth is very hurtful, just like right now. Yi Hua said faintly, since someone wants to challenge you, are you going to avoid the battle? Yi Zizi pouted her small mouth. Since his honor has already said it like this, what else can I do? Alright, let's fight again then. This time I won't hold back. Yi Zizi clenched her small fist and waved it. Coupled with that cute expression of hers, Yi Zizi didn't seem to be threatening at all. What Feng Tian wanted was a fair battle. Alright. I also hope that you won't hold back. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Zizi's mouth. You are very special. Feng Tian didn't say anything, then leaped high into the air and landed at the side. Yi Zizi slowly followed after Feng Tian. The battle between the Empress and Bai Cixin was also at the side. Although both battles were one-sided, Yi Hua still wanted to take a look at it this time. Chapter 673. Looking towards Wang Debao, a strange thought emerged in Yi Hua's mind. This man is very pitiful. His gaze was tightly locked onto his wife, and his gaze carried an indescribable expression that could make one feel depressed. As a man, Yi Hua could somewhat understand Wang Debao's feelings. Just like Qinya, if she knew that she was going to throw her life away, she still went. How would he feel then? Yi Hua stretched out his hand and lightly held onto Qinya's delicate hand, then carried Qinya into his embrace. Qinya nestled in her husband's embrace, seemingly understanding her husband's mood. Qinya, I won't let you suffer any harm. Yi Hua said gravely. I can't care about other people's matters, but when it comes to my own woman, no one could afford to offend him, including himself. Qinya smelled the faint smell of smoke on Yi Hua's body and said tenderly, Yi Hua, I believe in you. Qin Yutong, who was standing at the back, looked at brother-in-law and big sister, and revealed out a smile. Big sister is truly fortunate to have such a good man like brother-in-law dote on her. But I'm also not bad. Brother-in-law also dotes on me. Although it's not open and above board, I'm content. In actuality, Qin Yutong cared a lot about her big sister's thoughts, and she was not willing to see her big sister and Yi Hua quarrel because of her. She would rather hide Yi Hua and Yi Hua for the rest of their lives. This way she would be able to blame herself a bit less. After all, she was snatching her big sister's man. However, Qin Yutong didn't expect that Qinya was indeed trying to matchmake them. At this moment, Feng Tian stood on the yellow sand and looked at the little lowly in front of him. Without saying a word, he took off his mask. After the mask was lifted, a violent wave of spiritual energy burst out. Yi Zizi's ponytail swayed wildly in the face of the strong wind. However, Yi Zizi's expression remained unchanged. Another Feng Tian seemed to have appeared. He stared at Yi Zizi with the eyes of a hungry wolf. A strong sense of self-confidence exploded from his body. Feng Tian's face became crazed. Today, I, Feng Tian, will take revenge. Boring, Yi Zizi said softly. Yi Zizi could only describe this kind of battle as boring. Feng Tian didn't mind and shouted, I hope you can fight me with your full strength. Okay, I'll do my best. Yi Zizi was also helpless. Why do I have to go all out? I, Yi Zizi, am going all out. Even his honor has to be careful when dealing with me, let alone you. But sometimes a white lie was necessary. Feng Tian was very satisfied with Yi Zizi's words. His body suddenly burst out, and the yellow sand was lifted up by 100 meters with this one step. A terrifying spiritual pressure rushed towards Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi ignored the spiritual pressure and stood still as she watched Feng Tian attack. Feng Tian looked at the defenseless Yi Zizi and his expression turned terrifying. "You're still looking down on me? Why?" Yi Zizi's attitude had infuriated Feng Tian to the extreme. At this moment, Feng Tian's strength had actually broken through. A white-red spirit qi wrapped around Feng Tian's entire body, causing the heavens and earth to tremble slightly. The terrifying spirit pressure caused the sky to darken and thunder to rumble. There was no technique behind this punch, but it carried the unwillingness of the heavens. Anger. Frenzy. Yi Zizi sighed softly. She still did not put up any defense. Die. Feng Tian roared. Countless lightning bolts struck Feng Tian's body, making the terrifying spiritual energy even more ferocious. The entire desert was filled with gales of force 10, as if it was the end of the world. Boom. A huge amount of energy exploded out from Yi Zizi's chest. At this moment, the air seemed to have been torn apart, and a terrifying cyclone suddenly spread out. If one were to look at it from outer space, one would be able to clearly see a circle. From this, it could be seen how ferocious this punch was. Yi Hua tightly hugged onto Qingya, and his left hand even secretly held onto Qin Yutong's small hand. No one noticed this action of his. Seeing brother-in-law's action, Qin Yutong felt very happy. Brother-in-law did not forget about me and still cares about me. At this moment, Qin Yutong is willing to do anything for brother-in-law. As long as brother-in-law says the word, I will be willing to climb a mountain of swords and dive into a sea of flames. This Feng Tian is very powerful. Yi Hua said faintly. If I didn't appear, it would still be possible for them to have a fair competition. However, my appearance is just like a bug, there is no way to get rid of it. Qingya closed her beautiful eyes and said tenderly, "In my heart, you are the most powerful man. The most powerful man is currently holding onto your little sister's hand, and I even feel that it is very exciting. Hugging onto his wife and holding onto his sister-in-law. There is nothing more exciting than this." Yellow sand swept across the scene, and it was completely impossible to see anything clearly. After quite a while, the yellow sand gradually calmed down, and two figures appeared in Yi Zizi's field of vision. Yi Zizi was still standing in the same posture, and Feng Tian's fist landed onto Yi Zizi's abdomen. "You." Feng Tian looked at the little lowly in front of him and muttered. Yi Zizi patted onto her skirt and said faintly, "The difference between us is too big." Feng Tian looked at Yi Zizi and shouted out, "Then you should fight with all your strength. I don't need your pity. I also don't need your mercy." Yi Zizi clenched her small fist tightly and wrinkled her brows. "You are the one who said it." A smile appeared on Feng Tian's face, because Yi Zizi's expression right now could be considered to be serious. "I have received fair treatment." Yi Zizi took a deep look at the man in front of her, then punched onto Feng Tian's chest with her small fist. No spiritual energy exploded out from Yi Zizi's fist, and it was just like an ordinary punch. Feng Tian felt the power of Yi Zizi's fist, and he looked at Yi Zizi strangely. Crack. Cracks appeared on the left side of Feng Tian's golden face. Like a broken vase, it broke into pieces. Pieces of golden objects fell to the ground, revealing Feng Tian's original appearance. He was a rather handsome man. That strange eye actually returned to its original color at this moment. That punch seemed to have scattered all of Feng Tian's life force. Blood started to seep out from Feng Tian's skin, and very quickly, it covered his entire body. He was like a blood man. "This is my full strength," Yi Zizi said softly. Actually, she was lying to him, but it wasn't that important anymore. Feng Tian slowly collapsed on the yellow sand. He looked up at the sky and his lips curled into a smile. "You are really strong, the strongest person I have ever seen," Feng Tian muttered. Yi Zizi pouted. "Is that so? Maybe you are too inexperienced." "Maybe, but I know that you haven't used your full strength." Feng Tian smiled. Yi Zizi shrugged helplessly. "All right, you noticed that." Feng Tian's body started to break down like glass shards. Feng Tian muttered, "Thank you for accepting my challenge. If there is a next life, I will continue to challenge you." Looking at the dying Feng Tian, Yi Zizi said softly, "Anytime." Chapter 674. Along with the breeze, Feng Tian's broken body was completely buried in the yellow sand. Yi Zizi sighed lightly. Can't I just live well? What was the point of this? The battle had already ended. Yi Hua told Yi Zizi to go back first, and the latter hurriedly left the scene to continue eating chicken. Zizi is very strong, Jingya said. Yi Hua nodded his head, and Zizi is very strong, even I have to be wary of her. Is that so? This is the first time I heard you say that. Jingya smiled gently. Of course, I'm only talking about the battle of strength. Tsk. Yi Hua, then tell me, am I stronger or are you stronger? Jingya asked curiously. She wanted to hear how her husband would answer. Yi Hua was a man with EQ right now. He said faintly, of course you are stronger. Is that so? And? Jingya was very happy. It was already not easy for her husband to make her happy. In the past he would always attack her. The three then looked towards the battle between Donghuang Baiji and Bai Cixin. This battle is not that simple. Donghuang Baiji looked at Bai Cixin, who was not far away, and a purple long sword immediately appeared in her hand. Since Bai Cixin wants to challenge me, I will definitely go all out. Bai Cixin held onto the long sword in her hand tightly. Her heart was as calm as still water. Of course, there was also a bit of excitement. I am finally going to fight against the Empress. No matter what the outcome is, I have fulfilled my wish. However, I have let down my husband because I hurt him because of my selfishness. Looking at Donghuang Baiji's protruding belly, Bai Cixin couldn't help but feel envious. If possible, I also want to have a baby with my husband. Our battle won't hurt your child, right? Bai Cixin asked lightly. This was a personal grudge and it had nothing to do with the child. Donghuang Baiji didn't answer this question. Actually, a woman shouldn't be so headstrong. Having a good man and having a child is the true meaning of life. I understand what you are saying, but these are all things that have to be done tomorrow. Today's matters will end today. Bai Cixin still persisted in her belief and didn't waver at all. Bai Cixin, come. Let this empress have a taste of your strength. Donghuang Baiji shouted out, and a terrifying spiritual pressure blossomed out from her body. Bai Cixin did not want to fall behind either. Now that she had her primordial spirit, her strength was no longer the same as before. A powerful spiritual pressure instantly spread out and clashed against Donghuang Baiji's spiritual pressure. The two of them were actually equally matched. It was obvious that Bai Cixin had become much more powerful after she obtained her primordial spirit. In actuality, Donghuang Baiji still did not bring out her true strength. Right now, her strength was only at the state she was in back then. Ever since she had sex with Yi Hua, her strength had become stronger and stronger. Adding on the food that Yi Hua had given her, her strength was no longer the same as before. It could be said that her current strength was all because of Yi Hua. If not, it would be hard to say who would win today. What Donghuang Baiji said was right. The current Bai Cixin was no longer the same as before. If Donghuang Baiji didn't have Yi Hua, she might have lost today. However, who asked Donghuang Baiji to have such a man? This was all fate, this was something that no one had expected. Ha! Bai Cixin let out a delicate shout and instantly attacked with the sword in her hand. Donghuang Baiji's eyes focused, and the purple long sword in her hand turned into purple light. A purple sword chi was instantly condensed, and the purple sword chi flew towards Bai Cixin. Bai Cixin did not have any fear, and the long sword in her hand released a white sword chi. In an instant, the two sword chi collided with each other, and a huge shockwave burst out. The two women's beautiful figures instantly intertwined with each other, and they began a close combat battle. Numerous shockwaves swept across the yellow desert. Wang Debao's expression tensed up as he stared fixedly at the beautiful figure in the middle of the battlefield, and his heart sunk to the bottom. Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows as he looked at the battlefield. Logically speaking, Baiji should be able to quickly end the battle, but right now, the two of them seem to be locked in a stalemate. From the looks of it, Baiji also wants to spare her life. In actuality, all of this was because of Wang Debao, this infatuated man. The reason why Yi Hua wanted to forgive them was also because of Wang Debao. Back then, those family heads that Yi Hua had met all basically had multiple wives and concubines, and only Wang Debao didn't have any. This kind of man made Yi Hua sigh with emotion. Wang Debao is a good man, and for the sake of this good man, Yi Hua doesn't want to see a tragedy happen. However, Bai Cixin's personality was different, and Wang Debao was destined to be disappointed. Yi Hua let them live. Jingya said in a low voice. In actuality, she knew in her heart that Yi Hua would definitely be unhappy if she said such words. However, when she saw Wang Debao's appearance, she truly could not bear to say such words. This time Yihua didn't blame Qingya and said lightly, "Right now it's not up to us to decide, it's up to Bai Cixin herself, it's up to her whether she's willing or not." Qing Yutong felt that Qing Yutong was right. Women one mustn't be too strong sometimes, it's good to be a foolish woman. Qingya let out a light sigh. That's right, this matter completely depends on Bai Cixin. As long as Bai Cixin was willing to let go of Donghuang Baiji would most likely not look into this matter. The battle at the scene was still going on, emitting colorful astral winds that blew across the yellow sand. Boom. The two figures instantly separated from each other, and Donghuang Baiji's clothes could be seen to be completely fine. On the other hand, Bai Cixin's white robe was already lacerated, and it was even dyed red. However, Bai Cixin's expression did not change. At first glance she looked a little happy. She enjoyed the moment. He was worried about this moment. Donghuang Baiji, don't hold back anymore. I hope that you will treat this battle seriously, don't let me feel humiliated. Bai Cixin shouted out. In actuality, it could be seen that Donghuang Baiji had held back during the battle. However, this was not what Bai Cixin wanted. Just like consecration, she only wanted to obtain her opponent's respect. Donghuang Baiji's gaze was filled with puzzlement. Do you really want to fight that much? You don't care about Wang Debao's feelings at all? Hearing Donghuang Baiji's words, Bai Cixin slightly went into a daze. She took a glance at her husband who was far away from her and felt extremely guilty in her heart. However, today, if I can't fulfill my wish, I might as well just die. My husband supports me just like you. Bai Cixin shouted out gravely. On the surface, Wang Debao supported his wife, but in his heart he didn't want his wife to do this. However, since his wife wanted to do this, Wang Debao would support her unconditionally. Bai Cixin, I will say this one last time, it's still not too late to stop now, don't let the person who loves you feel sad. Donghuang Baiji gave her final warning. Bai Cixin stopped and looked at her husband who was far away from her, and her gaze became complicated. At this moment, Bai Cixin imagined the scene after she stopped, and she and her husband would be able to live happily together. However, would that really be happiness? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.